Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us on another episode of the Gaming Circle podcast, where every week my boy, Mr. Everborn Saga, and I attempt to make sense of these crazy gaming streets. But this week we're going to be doing things a little bit different. And of course, I see my man is already frozen. Oh no! Oh, here he goes. He's back. He's back. There it is. There it is. He was
I was
frozen
like,
on the
what's
best
happening?
on the best of faces. So I appreciate everybody for joining so far. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Everborn Saga. Good morning. How are you doing today?
I'm doing all right, but I don't know if you've ever had puppies before. But if you ever had a puppy, multiply that by 3,
I've
and
had
then you will
one, and I don't.
understand my pain.
I'm not envying you right now, sir.
And
This
they
man's
may
got like 15 puppies or something in his house.
they may make a debut. Anytime I can't back up what I'm saying with evidence, I'll just show a puppy as a prop,
and it'll just make everything better.
Exactly,
Yes, indeed,
exactly.
indeed. That's right. That's right. Now, under normal circumstances, it's myself and my brother from another mother, Mr. Everborn. But for some reason today, I just decided to switch it up. Now I got 2 brothers from another mother. The man that I have known for probably longer than any other friend my entire life, Mr. Marchiano Loen. How you doing, sir? It's good to have you on the show.
I'm good, and we only have 1 puppy here, but he's already 7, but he still acts like a puppy.
Yeah.
So this morning, I'm on the West Coast, so it's 9 in the morning here. Mm-hmm. And my girl, she's at work, so he ran upstairs thinking my girl's there. He's like, and then she's not there, and then he just lays down on the bed like,
I wish. Kay, do you want to explain the debacle that just happened like 5 minutes before the show?
So
where
he had to discipline them, and it was quite entertaining. Let's just leave it at that. He had to quickly get them out of his office. It was fun. It was quite fun. So we should have been on the puppy cast real quick.
They've learned whenever I'm on a conference call, and so they make all the noise in the world just because they know I'm talking, because they want to get let out of the cage. But as soon as you let them out the cage, and there's 3 of them, they go do their business everywhere that they're not supposed to. Immediately.
Why do you have 3? It's like a lot.
That's a good question, right? But there was a litter, and we wanted to keep them together, and the plan was for us to keep 2 and give 1 to my mom, who lives 3 blocks away. But my mom lives with my brother, and he does not know if he doesn't want pets, so we may end up having to keep all 3 of them. So fun times.
Fantastic.
Cool. Luck, brother.
I had 1. We kept him for 3 years. Then I had my son, and my son is allergic to animals, and not animals, but specifically dogs. So
I was like, your son's allergic to all animals.
Well, he's allergic to most things, which is very weird. But that's a whole different situation.
I am just like that. I went to an allergist, and I'm actually allergic to everything apparently. And now I go and I get a weekly allergy shot to deal with that. And have to do that for like 2 months. Well, the whole process takes 2 years, but then, the outside won't kill me, and I don't have to be.
Welcome to the Gaming Circle podcast, where this week we'll speak about everything besides gaming.
Yeah, everything but gaming.
Yes, puppy and allergy talk.
That's right. Well, no, but you know what? For those who actually don't know who you are, Mr. Marchiano Loen, we just kind of walked into it. We just started chopping it up as we do around here. Let's get a brief introduction to who you are and what you're doing within the gaming space, please.
Oh yeah, thanks. So Casey and I, we go way back. Just started as 2 guys who just love video games. Basically, we have a shared passion for music and video games. And then I've been in the games industry since 2008. So I started out as a tester at Electronic Arts. A lot of people started out as testers in our industry, especially people who end up in production for some reason. Started out at EA, was one of those crazy scenarios where there's constant overtime. It was supposed to be a 6-month deal, turned into like a 4-year situation where I got promoted after I guess this guy is basically living here. Might as well just keep him around and promote him at one point. So that's kind of how it went down. And then in 2012, I joined Ubisoft and made the move to production. So since 2012, my whole focus has been product side and team leadership side, and working with stakeholders and working with studio leadership, whether it's at Ubisoft. I came on to Fortnite when it was still, we're trying to make a really good free-to-play single-player game while everybody in their break and in playtest sessions was playing the multiplayer piece. And there was supposed to be like this maybe small multiplayer piece, but that became like the whole game. PUBG and the whole huge battle style play, which was very different from the 5-on-5 or whatever that you had in Gears and COD at the time. So that was a really interesting period, actually.
I hope that doesn't happen to Halo, by the way, where it just becomes this only
Stop
multiplayer
speaking ill of Halo.
All right,
Stop
all
it.
right.
Oh, man. That just gives a whole meaning to Halo Infinite, like infinite players.
Exactly.
Battlefield.
Infinite amount of monies that will be generated.
I'm sure. I just want them to focus on single player as well. I think they're the last stalwart in first-person shooters. I'm not talking about the Bethesda-style first-person RPGs. I'm saying specifically first-person shooters. They've been slowly but surely doing away with the campaigns for these things, and I feel like Halo's just kind of the last big one standing. So I hope they continue with that.
In the right hands, which they are currently, they seem to be the right old school hands who aren't quick to diversify for the sake of cash. For now, we shall see.
Yeah,
you can do both. They make enough money to create good campaigns. They just don't want it. You can't tell me COD and Fortnite is Fortnite, but I'm just saying COD and Battlefield, they're going to make all these billions and billions of dollars from these things. You could spend a couple of $100 million on a campaign for those people that are into those things.
I'll give you that. We digress.
We used to be like, I'm going to play the campaign before I jump into multiplayer. And now these kids nowadays, these damn kids, they hop straight into multiplayer. My girl has a friend and she has a son, and he's like 9, 10. And my girl told him, like, I guess kind of in passing, told his mom, like, oh yeah, Marchi works with video games. Video games? What video games? And somehow Fortnite came up. I went by their house. Dude had like questions for me. I couldn't even answer. Like, I don't know. I don't even know. What do you think? They're going to take that map or they're going to, so these kids, he showed me all his skins. I got this skin. I got that skin and this dance. And so it's big business. I am from the old school. Casey could attest to that.
The beginning, middle, and end days.
Yeah, I want to play the campaign first on normal difficulty and then on more difficult.
Yes.
Then we can talk about dipping our toes into the multiplayer.
Dipping our toes, not living our life there. Just dipping our toes and seeing how it works.
Seeing if we even like it. And
that's right.
Nowadays it's turned around. It's all about the multiplayer first. But
sorry, go ahead. I had another point, but I'll bring it up after.
Go ahead, make the point.
No, I was saying that this is and I've made this point to UK many times. I need to play something that has an end, or else it's like I'm just jerking off. Like, what are we doing here? I have things to accomplish, right?
What am I doing
all
here?
Pointless.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
Like, I need to know that I'm working towards something. If it is just for the sake of playing, like I could be writing a script,
and that's why I respect
game. I could be working and spending time with family.
Yeah, that's why I respect for what do you call it, Minecraft so much. But I'll never be playing it. Like, I just can't play it.
Yeah, I've never played
because there's just no end to it. Okay, you give me endless playability. Okay, one of the games I love so much, No Man's Sky. I mean, the concepts are staggering, and the work they've put in up until now is amazing. You can play that game forever, and it's just this fever dream of a game, and it's so amazing. I started dip in, dip out. It's endless.
I started playing that, and it was so good that I had to stop immediately. Like, I was playing for like 5 hours, and they kind of zipped by, and I was like, "Oh no, I see what you're doing here. You're not gonna get me caught up in this."
Now, real quick aside. Did you do that and then proceed to try the VR version because you have the headset that supports it?
I did not do that.
If you did go into the VR version, we would not find you for weeks. This
is what I'm saying.
It's amazing.
Don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby.
It's amazing. and you have the PC to run it too, so you'd be like all gone.
Nope,
it's just there.
I don't want it. Absolutely not.
So let's bring it back. So Ubisoft
Yeah,
Ubisoft. Yep.
Ubisoft was cool because I walk into Ubisoft. I was at EA for so long and was doing project management stuff, and doing project management stuff, and moved into production. So I walk in there into Ubisoft thinking like, oh man, there's going to be like this producer, and this producer is going to show me the way. Because there's Roger Collum from Epic Games. He was kind of my mentor. He was the one while I was still a PM, while I was at EA. We were working on Bulletstorm. That's how we connected. He was like,
one
"Hey,
of my favorite games still, Bulletstorm.
Should have had a damn multiplayer." Anyway,
yes, it should have. Continue. Yes,
it would have been.
It would have been 2 Gears of War though, because it was very Gears of War. But okay,
it would have been a classic. I would still be playing it probably. But he was the first producer I interacted with, and he gave me that blueprint. I get in there and I'm thinking like, okay, this is gonna be an amazing first day. The recruiter greets me at the door like, Marciano, welcome. He gives me like a welcome package, swag stuff, t-shirts and stuff like that, cup. And then he's like, that's your desk. So I sit down and I'm thinking like, okay, man, this is it. I'm in. I'm gonna make games. I'm in.
In there like swimwear. There you go.
Yeah, 4 years of testing. I'm ready to go. I sat there for like 3 hours. Nobody talked to me. And at one point, somebody out of pity came over to me and was like, hey, are you new here? I was like, yeah, I'm like the new associate producer here. And she's like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm the game designer. Tamara, I'm the game designer. Took a week before I even met actually had any one-on-one time with the producer. And then the producer finally tells me, check it out. So I'm the lead producer on this, but actually, I don't like producers. So I'm a little confused. I'm like, what, you just hired me? I'm associate producer, right? So welcome to the games industry. So he's like, yeah, I'm actually the game designer. I'm like the creative brain of this game. And I took the producer title because I don't like producers messing with my stuff. So I was like, okay, I see what you did there. So he's like, so you're going to run the production and I'm going to just make the game. Okay. So that was my first week at Ubisoft. I was like, what? I really remember leaving that meeting. Like,
I love this. This is great.
So how did that play out in reality?
So chaos, obviously, because how Ubisoft works is, and I'll tell the rest of the career story, but how Ubisoft works is they have a very strong, old school, headquarters driven style. It's like, I don't care what Ubisoft game you're playing. It could be made in India, it could be made in Montreal. Somebody in Paris in a team called the editorial team will say no or yes. So every now and then you got to present to them. And you have a weekly call with a line producer there to keep them up to date. And you need to send them test reports. So if there's play testing, you have to send a report, and they'll be like, fix that. You know what, I think you guys should cut that feature, actually. I really think you should cut it. They're basically calling the shots here,
Right.
This guy, this producer, game designer, we used to get on calls with Ubisoft. They would be like, yeah, you guys need to fix the tutorial because people don't get it. And he would be like, yeah, you're right. And I would be like, yeah, you're right. I'll make it happen. We would hang up. He would literally look at me and say like, yeah, we're not doing that. It's like, I think we should focus on, I don't know, the reskins of this art assets and make it work more cheap. So I have like Ubisoft HQ and my manager here. So I was like, who? Which assassination would I like to go with? Because I'm going down. Because if I do what he wants, HQ will be
yeah.
So I spent so much time like behind the scenes trying to, hey man, I really think we should do this thing they said. Like, oh man, they know what the hell they're talking about. They're over there in Paris, like I don't want to throw this guy under the bus. He's a cool dude. But that's basically what was going down. So obviously it was crazy. The good thing was this dude did not like speaking to press. He was kind of an introvert. So when they said like, hey, we need somebody to go to South Korea, he was like, oh yeah, Marciano can go. I was like, what? I remember getting an email like, these are the people that are going to South Korea. John, Frank, Lisa, Marciano, Paul. I was like, I mean, physically going to South Korea? What are you talking about? Like, so I actually physically flew to Busan, G-Star, and to San Francisco and stuff. So that was the start of but the good thing was, out of chaos, you can learn a lot of stuff. So I learned a lot about how to work with the game designers, how to work with the marketing team. We need to get a trailer done. We need to go to Gamescom. The whole like A to Z of launching a game. And one thing I will say about the CEO of Ubisoft, which I did not expect, he sat in on a presentation I did during Gamescom. He probably saw the Ubisoft logo and wandered in, And then I was in Paris like 6 months later, and there was like a press day where they were presenting new games, and then he was walking around, and I was thinking, this dude has no clue who he was. He's like, "Hey, how are you? Hey, it's good to see you." I was like, "What? Hey, how's the project going in Germany? How's it going?" I was like, "This dude knows me." So I was really surprised by that. I thought he was just another suit, But he was
Guimont, right?
Really cares about games. So
this is Yves Guimont we're talking about, right?
Yves, yeah.
Okay.
So he was. So when I read when Ubisoft had their Me Too moment, which you guys did a podcast on, and he was like, "Whoa, this is definitely not the culture." I only had a few interactions, obviously, with him, but I didn't get the sense that he was one of those people that would be okay with that. I think it's generally the people that have the power under the top guy that cause all
they're insulating him from those kind of. Okay,
they're just giving the good news. Everything is good. They're not saying like, "Oh yeah, we groped someone the other day." Awesome. It's not part of the report.
So I have we discussed that on the week before show. How do you feel about that? I'm making this as a general, so we can make this about Activision or anyone else. But like when the CEO
and before we continue, disclaimer. We understand that you worked at some of these companies. We understand that there may be some bridges and all that. Please don't feel the need to go beyond anywhere you're comfortable, because you know what I'm saying. You can call it out. We're a small podcast. You can name names if you so choose, but understand that
we don't want like Everborn to lose his puppy stuff with this stuff.
Yeah,
exactly. You know what I'm saying? Everborn, continue. Go ahead.
Yeah, but so. I do believe that is the case with many CEOs, where there are layers to shield them from these sorts of things. But couldn't it be argued that they should know these things? So it's like
part of their job,
right. Like should, I'm not saying that a CEO needs to be in the middle of everything, but things like this, if the structure is set up such that you will not know about these things, meaning you cannot make a change about things, and a culture permeates under your nose as the CEO, doesn't that make you in a way complicit? Not complicit, but like you should have known.
It is definitely a failing of the CEO. I agree. What do you think?
Because I always feel like you either don't want to know, or or other people are making decisions under you.
Isn't that the situation where you set up your commandos, if you will, your heads of command, and they are to be responsible for setting the culture of the environment? So even though, like you say, Everborn, you're not necessarily directly responsible for what goes on the day-to-day, if this permeates as much as it has, it's a failing of you, the head of the company, because you set those people in place to be able to handle those situations. And clearly there's enough evidence here that those people you put in place are not doing their job, meaning you're not doing your job by keeping them there or by protecting them and letting them continue to be there while they're failing in their position. It all goes from the top down, right?
Because one thing that, like, I'm a lead software engineer at work. I lead a small team of like 4 people. But when I talk to my director, he'll always tell me if something is going on, I don't need to hear about it last minute or from a client. Even if you're handling it, you need to let me know that it's going on. In case it needs to be escalated or whatever else. So no CEO should be blindsided by something like this, right? And that's sort of the point I was making the other week. Like, shouldn't they know? Because I know in my small role, just reporting not to the CEO but to the director, he's like, I need to know everything that's going on. You're going to handle it, but you need to let me know what's coming down the pipe.
Yeah, it's a little tricky, because put yourselves in the shoes of the CEO, for instance, of Ubisoft. There's studios all over the world. It started as something small. that became bigger and bigger and bigger, and now it's a mammoth company. So on one hand, there are people saying like, well, how is one person supposed to know all that stuff? And I understand that people say that, but if you're cashing in $30 million a year, whatever the hell the check is that you get as their CEO, you are ultimately responsible. You can't have it both ways. You can't be front and center when you are reporting all the profits, but you're right, because those are generated by people in studios, but then you don't know about the bad stuff going on in studios. So it's like you just said, even if you can't physically be there, then you're supposed to be you either have to hire people who are asking the right questions, or you need to ask the right questions to the leaders in your teams. And in 2021, really, was there no moment where anybody at the top was like, I want to know exactly what's going on in our studio about the subjects of sexism and racism and potential, what all you have to do is talk to people. You could have one person going around all the studios and invite and saying, I want to have I will be here for a week. Anybody, man, woman, whatever you identify as, that wants to speak to me, that's all they had to do. Mm-hmm. So they could have, it's like you said, why wait until it's reported to then come out with a statement? Why not? Is it not, so I always wonder, is it not important to these studios or these companies what's going on?
And even to take that sentiment even further, let's assume that these are money making entities, and that's all they're there for, right? They have no moral code. There's nothing about that. They're money making entities. You've looked around the environment and seen long enough that this stuff is permeating everywhere, and it's basically potentially destabilizing all of your competition, right? It's destabilizing them in bad PR and all of that. Wouldn't it be in your best interest as a money making entity to go around and clean and button all that up within your entity to make sure that your money-making enterprise can continue? Yeah. You know what I mean? Even if it's just from a self-serving perspective, you want to keep your eyes open for this very well thing, because, the people you serve, this is a very bad PR move, and it could potentially, take all the humanness out of it, Just in a self-serving capacity, it's still very important that you put some attention to this. And it seems like they're just, we're making money. It's all good. We're just making money. Don't even worry about it. We're making money. It's cool, baby. It's cool.
And that's what it seems like. It's happening. The statement is just, it's so standard. It's, we deny these allegations. The statements in the New York Times article have been grossly exaggerated, and they turn total corporate mode. And what I think is really scary is I've been in that position. I can't name the company, but one time I was in a break room and we were working on this. If what I say we're working on, you'll know what company it is. So we were working on this thing, and
continue.
I'm looking at the wall, and there's what happens is people who work there have their kids come over, and it's kind of like a creative room where they have all these tools and you can draw. And somebody drew a picture of, on one side, a blue-eyed angel with white skin and blonde hair and a split in the middle, kind of like your logo, okay? And on the other hand was a black person with devil horns. And I was looking at it and I was like, what am I seeing here? Like, so
Kay, you know what I took from that your logo is racist.
Yeah, you a racist.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Sony did it. No,
there's only two kinds of people I hate in this world: the people who hate other cultures and them goddamn black people.
I knew it.
See, I was gonna say there's two people I hate in this world, and that's racists and the Dutch.
And the Dutch. Oh, that's even worse. That's even worse. Oh, darn.
No, but didn't Sony did a commercial like that, right? That black and white Sony commercial that they did in the
with the Vita. With the Vita. Vita's coming, and there's this white, like shiny white
albino
thing,
chick, like
choking a black one. Yes, and it was on billboards everywhere. They had to like close it up. I think I can find that somewhere. Craziness. Who does this?
Anyway, we're in that room, and I'm with like 4 colleagues or something, and I'm like, you guys tell me what you think when you look at that. And they're all like, God damn, that's racist as fuck. Like these are white guys. Mm-hmm. So somebody goes to HR, and the first thing HR does is take this off and says, we will be talking about this later. I made at least 4 to 5 attempts to have a conversation about this, and it immediately went into the
ether. Yeah.
I really don't think we should be talking about this over this channel. I definitely think we could have a talk about that. Let me get back to you. So the scary thing is when we talk about layers, HR is. It amazes me how blindly HR always follows whatever, same company.
It shouldn't be amazing. It shouldn't be amazing. Who pays HR? HR is there to keep the business's interests aligned, right? So the idea that go to HR, I've always thought that idea has always been so odd, because it's not like HR is an outside third party entity that's there to protect you. No, they are there to protect the interests of the company because they are the HR for the company. It's not like there's this de facto HR that's this watchdog group that's, that's different. That's not this, So whenever they go, oh yeah, we'll follow the chains of HR, I'm like, I hope they're good, decent humans, because more often than not, you need decent humans, because the status quo tends to be, hey, let's quiet it up to keep the money-making enterprise moving. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've always wondered that.
And to connect it kind of to the subject of today, when you look at specifically the story that's out now, you were talking about Activision a little bit. I think it was in the Kotaku article where the names of some of the people in there were named, and then there was the whole Bill Cosby room thing. I don't know if you guys heard about that, but when you look up those guys that were named, and you can see them in the chat writing stuff and their screenshots, those guys are just like game directors at this studio, and they're doing this at that studio. And I'm willing to give up half what's in my savings account to bet that if that there is also a piece of white privilege there.
Oh yeah,
because it's like giving the somehow benefit of the doubt. There's screenshots, there's all this stuff, but it's still like. And then I wonder if you're a company, if I owned a company, a gaming company, and I had a game director, and I see these type of screenshots, this is a problem. We're gonna have to have a conversation about this, because that's completely not in alignment with my values. So then this culture kind of permeates the industry, because clearly other studios are reading this too, and they're not even putting out a statement. I even went as far as checking out the LinkedIn of a few of these companies. There was nothing. And then I just look up that person, they're just there, and they just had a post on, hey guys, we're hiring. So it's kind of like everybody's just looking away.
Because I think a lot of it is you don't want the public's ire on you right now. Like I remember, because the idea is if you say something, then people might start looking into your dirty laundry. And I think that's sort of a lot of it. So they don't want to come out and say, I stand with whoever, because it's better to they're figuring, let's just ride this thing out and hope we don't get rocks thrown at us.
Yeah.
Fact, scrub, 100%.
Yeah.
This is why it never gets to the top to make anything, any valuable change, because it's like, exactly like HR. Why would the head of a company who it's in his best interest to keep the status quo because it's working for him?
It's making money.
Would he? Yes, right. Why would they be open to allowing such drastic change to take place within their environment? Because money is the goal, and they're making it now. Now, if they were living in a world where they were seeing, mass PR nightmares left and right, and it was affecting their bottom line, maybe they might be more amenable. But, then they might be more amenable. But right now, it's just the vocal Twitter minority and all this money coming in. So I completely understand why they're like that.
I think that's the only way to make any company in any industry do anything, is that it is going to have to affect, it is going to be to prevent a hit to the bottom line, and that's it. They're either going to make
and of course we're going to bring this back to this conversation we had, and we're not going to open any kind of can of worms here, but everything you're saying, Everborn, this is why your own points here are the reason why I think some kind of third party ESRB kind of group is necessary.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
Don't start
I
this.
disagree.
I need money, bro. I also need money, so don't destroy my industry, please.
Oh no! This is not for destroying the industry. Like he is saying right now. You're talking about it needs to affect their bottom line. The only thing that you, the humans, have that can affect their bottom line is bad PR. That's all they got. That's the only teeth that can work here. Like this bad PR right now. Oh no, but I'm agreeing with you. This bad PR right now is why you're seeing CEOs are leaving. You know, things are changing, right? If you had some kind of body that could say, okay, here's the report, right? If you don't make drastic change within 60 days, however many days, we will release all this information and you get your bad PR. That's the
why wouldn't you want to release that information anyway?
Or you're no longer allowed to put out content for 6 months.
Exactly. Or you're no longer allowed to be on our platform. You're no longer allowed to be on us, Steam or whatever.
Point, because everybody's talking about the companies. Nobody's talking about the platforms. Nobody's talking about Sony or Microsoft. They're just like standing back, collecting money.
That's right. That's why I say make sure all of them have a stake in the game. When that body says, okay, this is the thing you need to do to make it whole, whatever that may be, logistically, they can work that out. If you don't adhere to it, not only will you be on the evening news, you will get a penalty of not being able to be on our platform for X amount of or whatever. You know, and all of them would have to agree to that. I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm not saying it's a done deal. I'm saying there are logistics there to be worked that could potentially lead to something. That's all I'm saying.
But that's
all I'm saying. It's worth trying, is what I'm saying.
No, it's not. There's a reason why there's no union in gaming, because there's so much money. And they're, you know, when you work in gaming, especially when you start at that bottom level, Everborn, you're doing it. You're actually the smartest way is the independent way. I think, you know, that's just the smartest.
I was telling Shada the other day. I really I don't have an interest in coming into a bigger company as a developer. I would come into like a director role if I was able to do that. I don't know how I would, but I'm saying I wouldn't want to come into that industry as
from the bottom. Not
right?
Right now. Yeah.
Not right. So for me, it is all about I want to build another company from scratch. But yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm saying that you know, there's a reason why there's no union. You know, there's so much money in gaming. You know, I remember that headline that you guys all remember, like GTA 4, or what I think it was GTA 4 was the first game that was bigger than any launch in Hollywood that year or something. Or it was a Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 2. But there was one of those games that blew by Hollywood, and that was the moment that this went from, whoa, this is a big business to this is the business.
The business, that's right.
And then when Fortnite happened, and this became, it went beyond pop culture, you know. Now it's just like mainstream, all over the place. My mom knows Fortnite. Everybody knows it. Now there's so much at stake that I know this sounds crazy, but to the eyes of those leaders and the eyes of HR, it's like, what a few upset women or a few upset gay people or a few upset black people are not going to stop this money train.
That's right.
Basically,
that's right.
I mean, that's basically what it comes down to.
It all comes back to me, and I relate this to so many things. The speech that Tyler Durden got on the plane in Fight Club, where they were talking about he works for an insurance company, and you know, or a car manufacturer, and they were saying if there's an issue with a brake line and it causes some people to die because of that faulty part, they have the bean counters come there and they look at what they will have to pay in lawsuits versus what it will cost to fix the part. And if paying the lawsuits is cheaper for people that die, then they just don't fix the part. Right? And that's all what it comes down to. So like you said, it doesn't matter who's complaining. It doesn't matter who is hurt. It doesn't matter who is abused or belittled or in some cases dies. If it's cheaper to like settle and deal with those things individually, they're never going to make a change.
Yep. And just to add a bit more to this conversation of where we are, where people are being mistreated. I'll say in general, people are being mistreated. Today, the issues of the day today are more about the gender inequalities and the harassment and all that. But if you look into the documentation, if you look into the history of all of this, it's not just the gender. It's, as Marciano has pointed out, you have your racial slurs here and there. It's just that old boys club. It's that idea of that old boys club, and it's still permeating in the environment, and it brings on that idea that these other folks are just new to this environment, and because of that, we must learn to now get along. When in fact, the fact of the matter is, they've been around this environment for ages, right? While just kind of perusing the topic, I came across this article that I wish more folks would read. I know the story, but it's a fresh take on it. Basically, the inventor of the cartridge that no one ever knew, those of us that knew know, but in general, normal people don't even know that in the 70s, Jerry Lawson basically invented the cartridge, which is the basis of all of Nintendo's greatness up until now and continued, right? There have been people like us in the mechanisms of this industry for many, many, many years, and not just us, the women and all of that as well, right? Anytime you speak to any of these great entities who had such things to say and had such an effect on our lives, you'll find that their wives were instrumental or their kids were instrumental. They've been part of this industry for a very long time. So the idea that people go, oh, give it time, it's growing pains, we'll get there, this is new, women are now joining us, or black people are now joining us, or gay people are now joining, absolutely BS. Like, absolutely BS. Now, real quick, I had to pop this one up here.
You saw it too.
That's great. Now, I don't know if you know Optimus Code, but if you do, this is classic right here. I should actually ask Optimus what he thinks of this now.
You might have to clip that one.
Yes. Optimus Code. If we're gonna clip this and see what your opinion is of this, I think that is a big compliment. Okay, he is immortal in the annals of video gaming. So I wouldn't hate on him for it. He's basically one of the old school heads in the gaming streets these days on Twitter. And
gaming streets.
he tends to be very prolific in his PlayStation adoration.
Okay.
I'll keep it that way. I'll keep it that way. But okay, so while we're continuing this conversation, I want to kind of because just so folks know what's going on with all this. So I've been trying to get Everborn and Marciano to on the same podcast for a while now, because I have conversations with them separately, and we basically have the same damn conversation individually, but I kind of want to have that conversation together.
About the revolution or
about the
different conversation?
No, that's a different conversation. The revolution cannot be televised. We are televised right now, so we can't have that conversation.
All right.
Stop it.
You are right. I apologize.
Anyway, so the conversation I want to have is what tends to happen is that we tend to not see ourselves represented in games, right? That's just neither here nor there. That's part and parcel.
Kind word. I tend to not see
part and parcel.
Where are the brothers at?
That's part and parcel of the experience, right? So we tend to have that, and I always have conversations with you guys individually, saying that if we ever want to have that change, we're gonna have to be the change that we see in our environment, and Everborn is already on his way to doing that with the Everborn game, and he has many moves in his head that he's thinking about, that we've been discussing. And I know yourself as well, Marciano, you've been making a lot of moves in that direction yourself. I kind of want to have you, we wanted to just have a conversation about that. I saw this really interesting diversity report that's actually also a very fresh take. I think this was like 2-3 days old, like very, very fresh take on it. And it's very interesting. I mean, I will put all the sources in the show notes so you guys can freely come check it out. But I like their cool little charts that they show that really pops off the screen and tells you what the hell that we're looking at here. I kind of want to start the conversation with you, Michonne, and ask you, is this a situation where, and this is more on the flip side of instead of black in games, I'm talking about, and that is from a developer perspective, how the mechanisms work, how we see ourselves represented within those rooms, right? On the flip side, some of us who are the gamers, who are the consumers of this content, right? We also don't see ourselves represented on screen barely ever, right? Yeah. And it's always a question of, is this just kind of, well, they all don't look like us, so they all don't speak like us, so they all just don't think about us? Or is there a conscious effort being made when these decisions are being put together? I know you've been in some of those rooms, and I kind of want some of your insight. It doesn't have to be, salacious or anything like that, but, as these numbers seem to suggest, it's always one-sided, like always. Very, very, very rare that you don't get your stereotypical, So the question that I ask you is, you've been in some of those rooms, and please take it where you wish to take it. You've been in those rooms, you've had those conversations. Is it a thing of the story just always tends to lean that way? Or is there a conscious effort to kind of keep us not seeing ourselves in this environment? What do you think?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I've been in those rooms, and in a lot of those, for me, very uncomfortable situations. Mm-hmm. So there's a few things at play here. There's the concept of outright racism, where you will have creators who like their flavor of characters to be one taste. For whatever reasons. We just have to acknowledge that. We cannot seriously think that half of America votes for Trump and that has no impact on the content that's created by the very same people. That's just step one. And then there's the second part, which is probably the biggest part, which is, you have people that are outright racist, then you have people that are uninformed and / ignorant. That's
what I like to call the subconsciously racist.
Yeah, the subconsciously racist. They don't they don't know they're racist yet.
Yeah, closeted racist.
They're like, I'm not.
I agree with all your points, but the R word does not fit me. But I do agree with everything you just said.
Goddamn. And then, so you have that part where you have outright racism. Then you have like the subconscious, whatever. Mm-hmm. And then you have what I'd like to call reference field. Like our reference field are Black fathers, Black culture, and white culture, because we watch He-Man too, and we love all that stuff too, but we have a very strong base. Now, imagine that, let's say 99.5% of these people that are calling these shots don't have any of that base. To them, Black or indigenous or Asian cultures, they still consider that exotic. Mm-hmm. So, and that's very important. So when they decide to finally put a non-white character as the lead, they're kind of thinking, oh, we're doing something different. We're choosing an exotic character. Why is this important? It's because we're not exotic. We are
we're as normal as you are.
We're as normal as them. But because to them we are still exotic, it's just, oh, you know what? Let's switch it up. Let's do something exotic. Which is really dangerous. So when you have, it's just a fact. There's 0% chance that you vote for Trump and then decide, I think we should have a Black, liberal-minded character as a lead. That is not going to happen. And we know that people in our industry also vote for that. The numbers are that's very simple. Then you have what, Everborn called like the subconscious racist. You're not racist, but all your choices are definitely pro-white.
Going on, Mav?
That's just it's not out of malice or something. It's just what you've seen your whole life, and that brings us to that reference field of everything around me is white. Everything around all the people I'm a fan of and look up to, and the people that I think are sexy are all white. That's what is in my environment. I don't have Black friends.
Well, I think
Black people I know, I consider them exotic. I don't consider them my equals.
But yeah, I want to, if we can drill down a minute on the exotic word. So I think what you're talking about, sort of when we say they look at other people that they have not had experience around, right? So like I live in New York. They call it the melting pot. Like everyone, you're kind of exposed to everyone. That doesn't mean you don't get racist people, right? But people tend to be more empathetic when they are in the proximity of other people, right?
Yep.
Now, I think when people do things like make those decisions like that, that is the thing that leads to all these stereotypes. So it's sort of, you're Black, your father probably wasn't in your life, right? Or you're Black, so you grew up in the streets, right? You're Black, you know how to dance or play basketball, right? Or you you talk like, yeah, or you talk about jive turkeys, right? Like and that is the kind of thing that, right?
He is old. We'll recognize that. He's very old. Let's continue.
But the point is, I think this is the reason. It is not sort of representation for the sake of representation, and it's not people being in the room for the sake of being in the room or because they lack merit. And I think that is another false assumption that these subconscious racists make. So when we say there needs to be diversity in front of and behind the computers or the screens or the cameras, whatever field we're in, it is not because we're saying it is just because they need to be there. It is their experience can inform things. And most of us, at least I'll speak for Americans, most of us we learn everything we know about the world from the media that we consume, whether it is the news, whether it is newspapers, video games, movies, you name it. And so when most of that is fed to us through the lens of one specific demographic, we will look at those things as exotic, and we will go based on the sort of stereotypes that were fed to us about other people. So this is why you have all of these misconceptions, right? Like there's, I don't want to get, because I want to bring up specific articles, so I'll go look for that. But there are a ton of misconceptions about Black people, Black fathers, all across the board. And I think that just comes from people's lack of experience. And the reason they have a lack of experience is because those people have not been represented in other ways.
And to your point, because you just brought up something extremely important, is who is behind how we are represented in the media?
Exactly.
Because obviously, if the medium, is like the most powerful way that we see ourselves. I mean, when I was young and I was watching like WWE wrestling, I was like, I want to be like those guys, But for every Booker T, there were 90 white of those guys.
Don't get me started on Virgil.
Oh my God! Everybody has a price.
Stop.
This is some wrestling nerd stuff going on.
That's right. This is back when it was WWF. Y'all don't know nothing about that. Continue.
But we talked earlier about the powers that be, and shouldn't they be responsible for knowing what's going on? But if it's about the current Me Too stuff that we're seeing, another question is, shouldn't they be responsible for having more diversity in their games? But like Kay said, what they're looking for is two things. The bottom line, they need to make money keeping the status quo. They're not here to rock the boat. They're not trying to help us co-start the revolution. Let's be honest, if it wasn't for the pandemic, people wouldn't have had time to be in the streets 5 days in a row rioting and protesting. I don't like using the word rioting. I'm sorry. Being upset, basically. They would have time because they had to go to work. Black people getting killed is not new to us. It's just we had time off now, so we could protest.
That's we can talk about it real quick.
And not to mention, people had basically been like, all of us were collectively in jail for 6 months at that time. Yeah. So
looking at the same media, getting stir crazy. Yes.
So that's what it took. It literally took all that time for white friends of mine to contact me to say, man, I had no idea. And
that is the most annoying thing that I hear. That I had no idea shit.
But that goes back to, again, that reference field, and that it's not willing ignorance, but it's just like things that we know about Black culture. We know because we grew up in it. It's kind of like there's a lot of stuff about white culture I maybe not know.
Mm-hmm.
Like when my friends are talking about, oh, don't you love the Beatles? Not really, no.
And a quick aside, like I hear you, Everborn, and I'm there with you sometimes, but I will say, just like when the whole BLM thing started, even though we've been saying it for a long time, this is stuff that has been said a long time. There's a Tupac reference that I've used during this whole that I thought was very apt, where MLK and the rest of them, they were talking to you, and then there was the Black Panthers, they were singing it to you, then there was the hip hop heads in the 90s, they were rapping it to you. Do you think these guys are gonna keep doing that? They've been talking, they've been yelling, they've been singing. Now they're throwing sticks. You know what I mean? Eventually it's gonna get worse and worse. You got to hear them. I hear all that. What I enjoy about all that is, doesn't matter how long it has taken for some of them to hear you. I enjoy walking into a room and having a bunch of people that don't look like us speaking in voices that sound like us. It took a while. I get it. But the more of them that say the words we say, the more of them it reaches. So I appreciate that.
See,
I do.
But I guess my I don't want to call it a concern or an issue or a pushback or whatever, but just the way I think about it is, cool, you're saying it right now because it is viral. It is a hashtag right now. But do those conversations continue, and do they fucking lead anywhere, or is it just a circle jerk? Right? Like, what?
I'll say this conversation has led to a lot of places. The recent iteration of the conversation has not stopped. It has taken many forms, and it's not gonna change overnight. But this has not been one of those, oh yeah, they talked about it and then it went away, because then it turned into this and then it turned into that, and now it's turning into Activision Blizzard being sued by California. It's not a convo that's ending. You know what I'm saying? So that's worth something. Am I mistaken?
I don't know if I would connect the lines between the George
injustice
Floyd
in general
disobedience
is what's going
Activision.
The recognition of injustice is what I'm talking about. There's a lot of recognition of injustice happening while this pandemic is because, like you folks have said, people have had no choice but to stop and pay attention. Right? You're not busy just going through the motions, autopilot with your kids and your work and your life, and you have to make concessions and changes because COVID is making you, right? And while you're doing that, you kind of look around and you're paying attention, and all of a sudden some of the things you're seeing, you're like, I'm not necessarily a big fan of that. You know what I'm saying? So I hear you on connecting those two threads. I hear you. I'm just speaking in general terms, as in the recognition that injustice permeates all around us, and it's about time we do something about it. It is more prevalent in 2020, 2021, going into 2022 than it ever has been. And of course we're in a bubble. Maybe our bubbles speak brightly, and that's why it's that way. But I have not seen this become such a thing. Like, since I've been here, I've been here for the gun control debate. I've been here for all these other things, and it's very cyclical, right? It happens, it's then it goes away. Then it happens, and it's then it goes away. This time that we live in, seemingly with this specific topic at hand, right? One day it's the injustice for females. Another day it's the injustice for the non-binary community. Another day it's the injustice for the people of color. The idea of injustice permeating around us, and it being something that needs attention and needs to be shining lights on it constantly, that is permeating within the conversation. And I think that is a good thing. I agree with you, Everborn, that it's, it's basically a two faces coin. It's the same side of the same coin over and over and over again, and we keep showing it, and people keep going, oh, we see it now, and then it comes back, oh, we see it. The more people get reached, the more voices are speaking the same words that we are, and that don't necessarily look like us. To me, I think that's a tiny step in the right direction. Please dash my Pollyanna dreams. Go ahead, man. I can see it in your face.
Yeah, you done?
I can see it in your face. Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
I was done when he said people of color. But
people of color.
Black people. Okay, so
I'm not talking only about black people. I'm talking about Asians.
Fine.
I'm talking about
absolutely cool.
Let's simplify. Let's talk about black people.
Sure.
I just think Continue. I think a lot of black issues get lost, and I'm not saying all these other issues aren't important, but I do think a lot of specifically black issues get lost when
in the broader discussion,
in that broader rainbow coalition of things. So I'm not at all saying that those other things don't matter, but I do feel like a lot more people come out for those other things than when it's specifically
because it's the new suit, it's the new hotness, but those of us that care will continue to care when it's no longer the new hotness.
I just feel like we as black people jump on all those issues because we know how that is. And then when it is time for the Rainbow Coalition to come back for us, we don't see it as much as I would like to. That's all I'm saying. But that is
I agree.
A discussion for another day, or maybe it is a discussion for today. But my thing is, I do not expect anything from anyone. I am more along the lines of, if they have not fixed whatever these issues are by now, they are not going to fix it. And it is up to us. It is up to us to build our own wealth. It is up to us to build our own companies. It is up to us to represent ourselves the way we want to be represented. It is up to us to create our own communities where we will be respected instead of begging people. I'm not saying that's what you're doing, but I'm kind of done with the, hey, do you see me? Do you recognize I have value? Do you see me yet? How about now? I've done everything right. I've done everything you wanted me to do. Fuck that, right?
I agree.
Like those conversations don't mean much to me.
Well, but you do realize that
we can.
You do realize that some of the gatekeepers still need to be appeased. If that wasn't the case, what you're saying now would be 100%. Like, you don't need it. You don't have to deal with it. You just keep it moving. I hear you on that 100%. But we do still live in a world where certain gatekeepers need to be appeased. So some minds need to be changed. If minds didn't need to be changed, who gives a crap, right? But we still live in that world where certain minds need to be. Not that we want them to be, because we could give a crap, but they need to be in order for certain successes to be continued. You know what I'm saying? So that's why this is necessary, whether we like it or not. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I think individually we all need to use whatever we can to our advantages. So if a company is putting their money where their mouth is, and they're making hiring efforts and trying to put people in front of other people, that individually we need to do that. I just don't want us to keep our eyes off the real prize.
Of course, 100%. Now it's wonderful you bring that conversation up, because that leads to a conversation I've had with you guys individually that I wanted to have with you guys together. Speaking to that, putting their money to their mouth, where their mouth is conversation, I have had conversations with you guys individually about the idea that here we are with 2020 being what it was, right? 2021 and all the unrest and all the attention that is finally being paid, right, to all the various environments, right? We speak uniquely from a gaming perspective because that's what we love. That's what we're here for, right? But you can say that about any other environment. But still, within the gaming space, there have been many entities who have come out, full-throated, speaking about how they stand with us and all of that, right? All the back and forth, right? But in many and we're talking in the media, we're talking in the development space, we're talking in vendors, all of that, right? Some of them just were there for the moment and then they moved on. Others seem to be still continuing that work, which is always appreciated. I think now is the time for, entrepreneuring, independent Black developers to go claim pieces of that pie, in my opinion, because I see that there are lots of, and I see this happening a lot, where they go, oh, well, we want to help everybody, but there's no one around to be able to fund, to be able to help. We want to fund new voices, but there are no voices ready to be funded. And as much as an excuse as I think that is sometimes, I do think there is that adage that luck is when preparation meets opportunity, and I honestly think there's a lot of that going on right now, where there's some people ready to be lucky if they are ready for it. What do you guys think about that? I guess I'll start with you, Everborn. Like the idea that here we are today. There's various sources. Being that we tend to speak to the console space, Xbox being one of them, right? Ready to dole out some cash for different voices to speak. Whether it is from a moral perspective or hey, let's cover our bases, get some good PR, and potentially get a game out. What do you think?
I mean, to me, it is. I don't really care, and I'm just being honest, right? Like I don't care where the motivation comes from, as long as the initiative is there. So if the end goal is we want to fund diverse voices, I'm here for it. Let's go. And I know your next question is, you said you're here for it, so where are you? Right. And
I wasn't gonna go there, but I appreciate you. Go ahead.
No. For me, you've seen what we've done with the comics. You've seen what I've done on my own with the game, and the game is not out because it has not reached my quality standard yet.
Of course. The
comics are only out because they have met that standard, and I have produced several comics that will never see the light of the day just because they didn't meet the standard. So when I do make that move to, let's say, present to an ID at Xbox or a Nintendo or something like that, and I don't think Nintendo has spoken to care about any of this at all. Maybe they have, maybe they haven't. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong. But when I do make that move, I want to make sure what I am presenting is not good enough for them to pick me, but up to my personal standards.
Of course.
And that's why I haven't gone that route yet. But I do recommend anyone who does have a project or does have the particular Liam Neeson skill set to go and take advantage of that
particular set of skills.
And I will when I feel like I meet my own quality bar. I'm my own QA team. I'm like the suits in Paris. I'm looking at my own stuff and be like, nah, that's not good enough.
I'm good at that. No, that's a good look. Don't shoehorn something in because you have to, because the iron is hot. You do it when you're at that level and you're confident of it. What about you, Michonne? What do you think? There's a lot of this opportunities out here now. You know what I'm saying? And yourself, and there are others out there who are striking while the iron's hot right now. What do you call it? I think recently I called out Aerial Knight being one of them. Never Yield. That was a really interesting project that came out that was funded in this type of way. What do you think about that? Do you think this is the avenue we need to go in order to see more of our voices represented? Do you think we just need to say, F it, we're starting our own game studios, all black stories, screw Thor. We have our own mythologies. Like, what do you think?
Black Wall Street. Yeah, no. So
That's
I'm
right.
a bit in the middle of you guys' pause. Now we're going to that. I love my black brothers' pause.
This is great.
I don't know why you had to throw in a. That's probably the last thing.
Look, man, continue.
Pause.
No, it's gonna mess up the whole show now. Now you got to watch.
Keep going.
Guys, we got to use the backdoor pause. No, I'm a bit in the middle as far as I see both of your points of view. When you talk about opportunity, the question is, why is our window of opportunities, it seems smaller? Like the more the BLM moment, the George Floyd moment passes, the smaller
the window's closing more and more.
Like there's a window now for Black creators. Why does somebody have to die? Why do people have to riot in the streets? Why do people have to, I hate using the word riot, but why do people have to protest for anybody to wake up and say like, oh my God, there are Black people who can create stuff. Here's 100 million.
Can I add just one point to what you're saying? And it's sort of why I almost feel like it's just better for us to make our own things, is because this idea that we have to wait for them to specifically pick us and then they can act as a filter for who they let into their systems, it rubs me the wrong way.
You can't.
You're not on code. You can't come in.
Yeah,
you're not.
So Everborn, just so that I'm clear on it. Are you saying that we are now at a place where those gatekeepers are not necessary? Because I thought, and please, this is me being genuinely prodding the issue a bit here. I thought that we're still in a place where at some level you will need to do some convincing and some mind changing. Are you telling me that in your estimation, we are beyond that? You can do your own thing. Screw them. It's all good. Just keep it moving. We don't need them. We're done. Like, you're telling me that you can foresee a future with yourself, success, all of that, where none of that is necessary anymore. Because that used to be very much necessary. If you look at the history, it's steeped in that. They I hate to use the word kowtow, but they give them what they need in order to get what they need, in order to get what you need. You know what I'm saying? Are you telling me that is no longer a factor in the equation?
I think that we are we're in a place right now where crowdfunding is a thing. We are in a place right now where there are many avenues where you can go direct to consumer, right? Like, if you go the mobile route, yes, you have to pass certain certifications to release an app to the App Store, but that is at this point almost automated, right? And Steam is not as no, but even with Apple, like, there's like, if you break certain rules, that's going to be anti-competitive, but they're not really going to stop you from putting a game out, right?
Yeah.
But Steam is not as curated, let's say, as Nintendo, Microsoft, and Sony are.
Actually, I will even say Nintendo is not curated as much at all. You go check the eShop for some
but it's very hard for them to get a dev kit from them, which I want to talk to you about after the show.
Talking dev kits.
Continue. My point is, yes, take any advantage that you can get in this hellscape of a cyberpunk future that we've found ourselves in.
We'll be talking about the Ascent in a little bit. Continue.
We will, but my point is, take whatever advantages you can. But where I am, it is more of, if an opportunities arise, I'm not saying I wouldn't take it, but what I am saying is you don't need that, and you don't need to wait for some artificially mandated window, because there are ways that you can get your project funded by the public. You can release it in places that can sell many copies and bring you revenue to the point where they will come to you to partner with you, right? So you can build things on your own. Don't believe that you
coming
need
from a
them.
man with a successful Kickstarter campaign. Good point. Good point.
But one thing about that is that it does feel a little bit like we should be jumping through hoops others don't have to jump through.
But that's part and parcel of the experience, has it not been? I mean, it really is.
This is just
one day we hope to not be that way, but that's probably our kids who may benefit, if we're lucky, from that world. Our world, it seems like we will always be running the race a little faster than others.
So Everborn, I think your point really stands, because I think one of our issues. I was talking to a guy the other day, Mike. His name is Mike. He's got a company called Win-Win, and he used to be in the NFL. And basically, what he does, he works with NFL players and charities, and makes really cool stuff happen. And we were chatting, and he was like, I want to spend a lot of time on educating our communities, because I think in general, in Black communities, ownership is a very different word with a different meaning than in, let's say, white communities, where owning a home is very common to white communities in general. And that's just very, very in general. But for us, if we buy a home, we're generally first generation or maybe second generation to buy a home. And having a portfolio of stocks That's only coming. I've only heard my black friends talk about that recently.
Recently,
This is all news.
And the issue with recently is that the market has been on this upswing for over 12 years. So it's very easy for people to get in the market now because everything's really just going up and up. But this sort of generational investment in the market,
those that knew have already benefited way, and y'all are jumping.
Yeah, they're like,
now.
oh,
good
you're
luck
finally
with
catching
that.
up. So I think
we're preparing for the next crash. Keep investing.
Yeah, keep going. This is good for me. So, but I think I'm very pro to ownership. On one hand, I'm very pro to ownership. I think we should own a company that makes the next Call of Duty. We should own a company that makes the next Fallout. We should own a company that does the next Fortnite.
Right, and then partner with whoever you need to partner with. Yeah, but you are the owner.
Yeah. I think actually, a quick aside. I'm sorry, don't mean to cut you off. A quick aside to what you're saying here. Because of the recent weeks and days and weeks and all the gaming content we've seen, I'll even go out on a limb and say you don't need the Fortnites, you don't need the Call of Duties. The Death's Door, which is created by 2 people, is kicking it in high gear. Omno, which is created by 1 dude, is really impressive. The Ascent, which is under 20 people. You don't need huge amounts of people to make. That's not the standard anymore. People are making magic with very little amounts of human resources. Please continue.
And the tools.
That's right.
I'm sure you can speak to this, but the tools are getting to a place where you can do bigger things with smaller teams.
Yeah. Than 10 years ago, for instance.
Yeah.
But just going back to this ownership piece, I think it's very important for us to have ownership. I think what Everborn is saying is, and what you're saying, you're touching on these mainstream platforms. It's painful to see that they are still the gatekeepers. Yeah. So how can we express ourselves purely when people who don't even really know our culture are deciding whether or not it's going to be this group or it's going to be that group? That's one piece. Second piece is if you look at data for what VCs, these venture capitalists, what they dole out in investments, the percentage that actually goes to Black men and Black women negligible.
It's very, very negligible. Yeah,
but that's why the successful among us have to get to a place where we can lift while we climb. And so if Everborn becomes big and it's a thing, then I have to take it upon myself to look at the next person coming up and say, I believe in your idea. I'm going to invest in your idea. Yeah. And that's how every other group of people, and I'm just speaking about for America, but every other ethnic group, because there's a lot of people when they first get to America, they are not accepted, right? And then, there was a time where you saw signs in stores where iris need not apply. Jews went through this. Italians went through all this. But I think that white supremacy, it is, sorry for the word, but it is such that it will morph and change and bring in all these other groups to preserve itself. Yeah. Right. And so those groups that were no longer accepted are sort of now accepted. But every one of those groups has said, okay, America doesn't accept my culture, so we will do for ourselves. And I'm not saying that, why don't Black people do this? Because there are many instances of Black people trying to do this and being thwarted. You brought up Black Wall Street, which is a reference to the Tulsa massacre. There's Rosewood. There's
way
tons
more.
of way more. Those are the ones they made movies about, right? But there's way more instances of this. So I say this to say, I think today we are in a different time, because I'm not going to sit here and say we haven't made progress. I think where all of us stand in our careers to be able to even be able to have the context to have this conversation speaks to the progress that is made.
That's right.
That doesn't mean there's not more to go.
More to come. That's right. Yeah.
However, I do think we are in a place where we can take the reins for ourselves and we can invest in our own projects if we see that they're not being accepted by the gatekeepers that control things today.
And you know what? I completely agree with your point. Very, very astutely pointed out. And just for the broader audience watching and listening to this, and it's not just beneficial for those in the Black people or those who don't see themselves on screen. It's this ends up being better for all of us. What was the most recent occurrence? Raji is a huge smash. Why? Because you let Indian developers share with you their Indian culture. And the game is based on Indian mythologies. Very interesting new stories that none of us who are not part of that culture would understand, and giving them the opportunity to really shine. Mav, Fun Speculation, thank you for being here. He pointed out that Song of Iron, also made by one person. These are the special experiences that we want to start seeing now.
Did you see? I think Stephen Ford is making a movie, a short film about Song of Iron to launch with, to
be released with which is totally awesome. Like, and I know that the developer of Song of Iron is basically part of the community. He's been on a bunch of the indie podcasts.
It's been on PTG a couple of times.
Yeah, he was on PTG. That's right. So this is absolutely amazing. And Raji, as Fun Speculation points out, Raji is great. And more games like that need to be greenlit, because and that's why I don't know if you recall, I was talking to you about this there, Marciano. I was asking you, remember where the title of this podcast comes from? It's because I remember you and I, when we were like 16, 17 years old, sitting at the circle, having a conversation about, imagine if Grand Theft Auto, maybe 2 at that time, because it was that early. Imagine if Grand Theft Auto London was not in London, and it was in like Amsterdam. Remember we had this conversation? I remember this conversation like it was yesterday, and that's what this is all bringing about. You can have that GTA in those other places, and we've come so long and so far that if you see like The Ascent, with less than 20 people, you can make extravagant things. Yes, it's buggy. We'll get into that because we've been playing a bit of that. We'll talk about what we've been playing, but just in general, the accomplishment that these guys have been able to achieve, and yes, they're speaking from where they speak from, right? They love the cyberpunk aesthetic, so they went the cyberpunk route. It can come from anywhere, right? There are many games. I saw I forget the name. I should have Googled it and gave the credit. There's a Cameroonian development house who made their first like game that's on Steam from Cameroon, and it's basically like their version of Game of Thrones, but it's very much Cameroonian culture and mythology filled in. It's very much point and click and also old school ARPG style. The combat is very much you wait for the other person, wait for the other kind of thing. So it wasn't necessarily my bag when I tried to play it, but I still bought the game just to show some love and respect to the first Cameroonian dev house to make a game at a really good level, and the art style was great. Things like that. I guess where I wanna transition this conversation into is, you guys have already spoken on what you think is necessary in order for us to get to that world, right? In the short term, do you guys have any recommendations to those who are watching, those who also see the importance of all of this? Because it's not about the black and the white and the this and the that, from a gaming focus, from a gaming lens, whether it's me who wants to see people that look like me on the screen, or it's Mad Fun Speculation who wants more different diverse games, because they're just more awesome games that you wouldn't get from the same people over and over and over again. How would we go about, promoting that and letting that be something that we see more of? Because that's definitely what we want more of in this environment. And it seems like it's such a staggering thing. You can go start it.
I'll answer that in 1 second, but I want you to highlight Mav's last comment.
Yeah.
Literally, this was what I was thinking about. That's how I see it from my side. I'm like, I'm the only brother in here, in every room.
Yeah, and so it's this, like, I mean, this is another sort of issue I have where it's like, progress takes time, and the long arc some shit with history arcing towards justice and all that bullshit. Some crap of
history bending to
the get yours in the hereafter bullshit.
Yeah. Well, I get mine today.
Yes, exactly.
You wait while I celebrate.
Right. So that idea is a thing, because I think now the software engineer like myself is the new factory worker, right? I can't remember. Someone said that the other day, and that's just where we are in terms of development as humans, right? And so it is, if you have the skills, I don't think you'll have any trouble finding work. And maybe the games industry is different, but I'm just talking about software as a whole. I don't think that is an issue for you if you look like any of us here on this podcast. However, as you move up, it becomes more and more difficult, because a lot of the people who move up in the corporate structure, it is only partly about your skills at that point. And then it becomes the corporate politics it
becomes about how good you are on the golf course, or if we even decide to invite you to that golf game so you can be part of that conversation.
Right, exactly. So, and I think that is part of the reason where, yes, we will let you in, you can work with us, you can make money for us, but the moving up is now that next glass ceiling sort of that needs to be broken. And so
and I guess that speaks to your idea of screw going up that ladder, create your own ladder so you're at the top of it, and it makes others' experiences to get to that top a lot better than what we've had. Makes perfect sense.
This doesn't mean I'm anti-integration, right? I'm not like a separatist, but I'm saying I want us to be able to make those decisions because we want to make those decisions, not because they are dictated to us where we can go, where we will be accepted, and what they are offering us. So 100%. when you can create or try to create something for yourself, you partnering with someone or even taking a salaried role with someone is a choice for you. It is not a necessity. And that's where I want us to get. By and large.
Those are really
Marciano, what do you think?
Those are really important points. And to that point about you may see a diverse staff, which is really rare, but let's say it can happen. You'll never see a diverse executive team. So now we're going back to this kind of reference field that kind of, let's call it ignorance if you want to be positive, and let's say it's is purposely an all-white male executive.
And that is definitively the gatekeepers, the executive team.
Those are definitely the gatekeepers.
Those are 100%. That's the definitive. If you pick the word gatekeepers, that's what you'll see in the dictionary. And if they're all a certain way, it makes everything lean that certain way by necessity, because makes sense.
Yeah, well, just this. Like if we had a party now and we would set up the playlist and it was all people like us.
That's right. That's right. Yeah,
it's going to be different.
Right? if we're partying and it's us in the playroom, we bump in a certain type of playlist. Whereas if somebody else is in here, obviously there might be a bit more diversity in the play. That's right. It makes sense.
Whoever decides what that, let's call it the playlist is, starts deciding what becomes popular and mainstream. And now it starts looking like that's the only.
They're controlling minds. They're literally controlling minds.
The only cool thing out there is the white male protagonist with a gun fighting Russian.
Well, I think another part, like to your point, at any one of these large companies, and this doesn't just go for games, it goes for movies, it goes for a lot of other things, but there are people whose job it is to say no to things, right? Because their job is to make sure the company isn't investing in things that will lose them money. And I think and a lot of the time they are making those decisions based off of historical evidence. And so if you do not have broad historical evidence of things working where we are at the front of it, then they're going to say, just doing their due diligence, and this is what I mean, the subconscious racism, that, hey, that project doesn't look viable to me because I can't say it's like something else. right? And I think that plays a factor. Yeah, exactly.
But how can we ever prove that we can do it?
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
We can prove that we can do it by not fucking going to them. And then they're like, shit, we're missing all this fucking money. Can we get in on that? And that's when, and then the world will look to us to save them, and we will whisper back, no. It's a Watchmen reference. Sorry.
Watchmen. They will look to us to save them. Oh, what's his name? Rorschach.
Yes.
We'll scream out in the distance. No. Oh no.
But a lot of the issues, a lot of the creators that want to, that are Black and want to create, or that want to become executives and want to be in the room at EA when those big decisions are made. When they are independent creators, they're like, sure, I want to make my own game, but how am I going to pay for my staff, for instance? So some people will have that issue. Oh, let me go to a VC. Oh, we don't have any Black projects that were successful, so we won't invest in you. Okay.
Or we'll invest what we can afford to lose because this is a charity.
Yeah, this is like, oh, hey, and we're all about diversity. We have invested in Everborn Saga's new game, 10,000.
Yeah, exactly.
Something else.
Yeah,
which is basically like craft services for like a week. Like
like a week. Like, what is that going to do for me? And then on the other hand, just because I think a fear that they have is if we become part of an executive team that all we want to see is Black content, black. We just also want to be in the room making the decisions on where the next Call of Duty goes.
That's right.
For instance, so there's this kind of fear of a Black planet, like the old Public Enemy album. That still exists.
I ultimately think that comes from the people who feel that way. They know what they would do if they were treated the way we are. And so they always expect us to have that level of vengeance towards them.
Everything gonna be Black now.
Because they would have vengeance towards us.
Black Ops is just called
the opposite was true, is what you're saying.
Yes, but most times with us, I don't know anybody that's looking for revenge. We kind of just want to feed our families just like everybody else.
We just want to chill. That's right.
But the way a lot of those people think about it is, no, they're going to get in and then they're going to they're going to open the barn doors and they're going to air all the grievances. And I think that is unfortunate because I don't know anyone who thinks that way.
Yeah, neither do I. 100%.
I think everybody is in. It's like Chris Rock said at his Oscars opening monologue, where he's like, "Hey, every year Tom Cruise gets great roles. Every year Leonardo gets great roles. We just want opportunities. We don't want a special treatment. We just want equal opportunities." That's it. I've been in so many rooms where decisions are made, and I look around, and there's 20 people there. I'm the only person, even person of color, and there's maybe one woman there. And then
my
I'm like,
sister and I make that joke all the time. You know how successful you are when you look around your room and you're the only one that looks like you in that room. That means you reached the pinnacle. Because the higher you go, the less of you
were allowed in. And then the issue with that is your friends will be like, "Oh, but racism doesn't exist. I mean, you're doing fine."
Yeah, but that's like saying poverty doesn't exist because Bill Gates is.
That's right.
Like, what does that mean?
Yeah,
that's right. That means absolutely nothing. Okay. So ultimately, I guess to crystallize this part of the conversation. So, to my understanding, the reason, and both of you guys have made very good points. It seems like the reason why there are not so much represented, there are not so many protagonists on the screen that look like us is because there aren't too many decision makers who are in that room when those design decisions are being made. And you guys think that at the end of the day, in order to correct that, we need to be decision makers making those decisions in the first place rather than being allowed in those other rooms. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes. Put on your Infinity Gauntlet and say, "Fine, I'll do it myself," and then go collect all the Infinity Stones and snap all your enemies out of existence. That's what we need to do.
Well, we don't have to snap enemies out of existence.
Nope.
You got to get out there. You got to get out there and produce a product that rivals everybody else.
You know what? Do the Z snap. Get him out of here, man.
Get him out. All right. I appreciate this conversation. We've been having a lot of fun. I want to transition a bit into what we've been playing, because that's also a bit of a topic, and we're already like an hour and a half in, and I want to be mindful of your time, Marciano. So I want to kind of have a bit of a conversation about what we've been playing, because that will lead into a lot as well, because there seems to be a lot in regards to that in the last couple of days or so, a week or so. I'll start with you, Everborn. I know you've been going hard on Death's Door. I don't know if you have more
hard on Puppy Simulator, because
of course, there's that too.
That I'm gonna bring them on screen later so people can
go ahead. Yeah, you can do that.
The cuteness. No, let me tell you what I've been playing video game wise, and then I'll go get them while one of you guys are talking. So
give me the broad strokes. So I think you finished it, right?
Oh, Death's Door.
Yes,
I've finished it multiple times because there's a secret ending. After you beat the final boss and the credits roll.
No spoilers, bro.
No spoilers. No spoilers. I'm not telling you who the final boss was, but
okay.
I mean, I definitely posted on Twitter the clip of me beating the final boss, but that's neither here nor there. But after you do that, there's actually the 7 tablets of knowledge that you need to get, and if you get those, there is the true ending, which tells you the history and all the lore of the world and what the story itself means. So if you really want to know
what's going on, why there's a penguin with a sword walking around slashing things,
exactly,
it'll tell you why. Okay,
if you want to know that, but that is a thing, and they restart the clock. So it took me, after taking 19 hours to beat the game, it took me another 7 hours to do that. And one of the things that is required to do that, to get one of the 7 tablets, is you have to find all of the seeds and plant them in all of the pots. And there's 50 seeds in 50 pots. You know, the things that give you back your health, how you have to find the seed, plant it, and use that. Yeah. So you need to find all of those. Right?
Wow.
So there's that.
So as you speak to me, you're basically making me feel more and more like I don't want to continue playing this game, because it's going to be a while. Look, man, I see 61% or 67% complete when I check my game save. You're telling me I'm like at 2% right now.
I am 99.6% complete, because I also collected all the shiny things. I have upgraded all of my power-ups. Yep. And my stats, I have one more thing to max out, and that's my dexterity. And once I get that, I'll get that achievement.
I'm still getting beat up by the dude who's when I'm trying to upgrade one of my weapons. Like, they're so annoying. Marciano, have you tried Death's Door?
Well, you were really hype on Death's Door, so I just watched some gameplay. I definitely want to play it. I don't think I wrote you like $26. Is this really worth $26?
Yes,
for Game Pass,
bro. You know, I put you on the Game Pass, and I bought this game. That tells you something, doesn't it? Yeah, when you can have an amuse-bouche of all games you want, and you still end up paying for a game, that tells you that game is worth the price. I would have paid $30 for that game. It's amazing.
You know, Game Pass is powerful, because anything that I want to play, I first search if they have it on Game Pass. Like, is this thing out on Game Pass? No, okay, then I'll consider buying it. You know, like, is this thing out? No, it's not out.
Yeah, and when you succeed and you're not in Game Pass, it tells you you're a cut above, because
that's the new
everybody's
thing.
trying to play Game Pass. You know, yes. So you haven't had a chance to try it yet?
No.
Okay.
So I've been clearing I'm trying to clear my like never-ending backlog.
Why would you even attempt that? Like, I have so much of a backlog. Listen, if I played every game, it'd be 2 lifetimes. I'd still be playing.
Do you watch everything in your backlog on Netflix? No. Don't worry about those.
Keep it moving. Like, move forward, bro.
No.
Exactly, man. I need the new hotness. Old busted.
Right. NLB, newest, latest, best. NLB, remember that. That's how we live. Newest, latest, best. That's right. So what you been playing?
It's almost impossible to keep up with the
onslaught of games
that's coming out. I almost feel bad for the creators, because I know how much heart and soul, we all know how much heart and soul they put into it, and the Ascent is just a flavor of the week.
Can I talk about the Ascent?
Yeah, we're going to talk about, because I want to talk about the Ascent as well. I'm trying not to make it the flavor of the week because there's so much more to this thing than the real quick, sticker shock of, oh, this thing is buggy. Oh, and it happens to be in Game Pass. All right, let's keep it moving. There's more to it than that. And
gaming has almost turned cyclical as far as the news cycle, 24 hours, the new thing.
The problem I think with this is a Game Pass problem. Honestly, I think this is a Game Pass problem from two perspectives. One, I think that Microsoft should do a better job of displaying each game, making them more of a special snowflake. I've said this before to you, Everborn, and I've said and I'll say it here. That is one thing that PlayStation does that I'm always very, very, very appreciative of, and I commend them for it. If you find a game in their store or in your library or something, highlighting the game highlights so much more. Oh, and here's a documentary, and here's this. They present it in a way that makes every game pop and shine and looks very special, and you can dive deep in a game without even playing it. There's just so much data, right? It's almost like they're linking all of the various promotional materials on YouTube and bringing them all to bear right on the dashboard whenever you pick a game. Xbox has so many of these games, which is wonderful and all, but they're making them look kind of samey. So like to what you're speaking, like people should be spending a bit more time investing into looking into the Ascent. There's a really awesome deep dive documentary style that Microsoft released on the YouTube page. If you go to the app, if you're a normal who happens to just have Game Pass and you hover over it, you never get to see any of that stuff. You never get to see how much effort and time and, oh my God, it's only 12 people that made this. It's just very much generic one game among other games. And I think they are screwing up by not changing their UI for Game Pass and making it, highlight more of that. They do a very good job as to promoting them. They're out there full-throated, doing all that work. But I want the UI to promote that as well. That's one problem I think they're having. The second problem I think they're having is they don't know what to do with their release schedule. They're still working on that. You know how Netflix is now a well-oiled machine of, one doesn't step on the other. Oh, now we have this new hotness. Everybody's talking about it. It's great. It's great. It's great. Right when the talk goes down, then we have a new hotness, and they're stepping on their own games. They're stepping on themselves, and that becomes a bit problematic. And I think they need to work out that logistics because that's what's happening to the Ascent. Please, and anybody correct me? Or
but so the thing is, I don't think that there was any reason that Flight Sim, Death's Door, and Ascent all came out within 7 days.
All in that, exactly. Right? They need to space them all out.
And next week, Hades is going to come out, right? Like
that's right.
So, I do agree with you there, but I do want to commend them that they have been doing a great job at pushing forward. And a lot of these, aside from Flight Sim, all of these really are indie projects, and they give them the AAA treatment in terms of advertising and
the space, the marketing,
Like very, so, very and I think they do a great job in that regard because they're really, and I know. Listen, these things are like Hades is not exclusive, but like Ascent and Death's Door, like they basically have been advertising them as though that they were one of their own first party studios. And and for small developers, like there's a reason that even though this thing's on Game Pass, they released saying that Ascent did 100,000.
And Psychonauts is about to take over the world before the Ascent even gets a chance to breathe.
And the Death's Door developers made $5 billion. I also want to shout out, like, if you look at the credits of that game after you beat it, looking at you, okay.
I'm still working on it, bro. Calm yourself.
But it's made in Unity. And that's real. I use Unity every day. I've never used Unreal because like in my normal life, I am a Java and C# developer, and I don't know anything about C++, which is what I hear you need for Unity, for Unreal.
For Unreal, yeah.
Is that the case?
It is the case. I play around with Unreal from time to time. You know, and this is for anybody who's out there. The gaming tools market is now very much diversified. Anybody can go and uninstall Unreal off of the Epic Game Store. Right, you install it. There's a bunch of like what do you call it, templates that you can play around with, especially with the new Unreal Engine 5 like demos out there and stuff. You can literally go into their marketplace and get some free assets, start putting scenes together. You know, yes, it gets deep, you know, for those who know, but just to get your feet wet, you can literally get stuff done just by playing around. So I advise anybody who's interested to, you know, go give that a shot. Marciano, what do you think about the environment these days with these indie developers that are literally like making magic happen with Unity, like 2-man teams, the Death Door that we're talking about? Yes, there's if you really check into the details,
artists,
they have some artists, they have some, you know, some general freelancers they called in.
Another very important thing, if you look at the credits, they brought in a testing team, which I can't remember the name off the top of my head now, but if you look at the credits for the game, you can see that. And I feel like
the Ascent should have probably done the same.
Exactly. I don't think the Ascent had a
should have called in the same testing team, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, because I haven't seen a single issue with Death's Door.
There was one. There were 2 issues that happened to me in Death's Door. One was I landed the wrong way on a box, and then the character got stuck in that box, and the attacks weren't working for me to break the box that I was stuck on. And then the other thing was, this just happened to me last night, where I was in a cave, and then I jumped off the side, and then I was not dead, but running under the entire map, so I could see the entire and I'm running around the whole thing, and I had to restart the game. So those, but again, very few and far between. That's 27 hours of playing, and I understand how someone could miss that, because those were big edge cases. Right. And if your game breaks on an edge case, like I can understand that a lot more than primary functionality doesn't work. Like, how does that happen?
True.
I will say, press A to start game crashes.
Game crashes. That's right. Yeah.
What's going on here?
The number one aspect that makes the Ascent fun, and I'll put a bit of Ascent gameplay while we chat. The number one aspect that makes the Ascent fun is the co-op gameplay. And co-op is basically broken. Like, it's basically broken, which is so... This game, I don't know if you've played this, Michonne, it is so effing detailed. The level of detail, it is just stagger freaking ring. Like just mind-blowing how much detail they have in this world. To the point where, like, they have so much detail on display that you can tell that they spent their resources a bit on the environment and a bit less on the character. So the character creator, you'll see that like they have like 5 or 6 options, but all of them are kind of generic and they all look the same. You know, the characters are a little bit floaty, but in general, like, look at that. And this is without all of the bells and whistles, because there's been an issue that they're still addressing. They need to add ray tracing and all these other next gen stuff to this game on the console. This is a piece.
So that kind of begs the question: is Microsoft pushing developers like, "Hey, your date is the 1st. I don't care what you have, send it over"?
To my understanding, every time we've
heard,
I'm sorry. There you go.
Sorry.
There he go. Ruined it. It's over. It's over, dog.
Try to talk about something else now.
Put it on the big screen, Kay.
I will. Let me see. Let me see if I can maximize. There you go.
Look at this guy. Look at this guy. His name is Ragnar, after Ragnar in the Everborn comics. So fun fact: Riley in the Everborn comics is based off of my old dog who passed away on Thanksgiving Day 2016, and his brother in the comic is named. So that was Art Imitating Life, but his brother in the comic is Ragnar, and so now this is
Ragnar. So this is
Art
Life Imitating
Life.
Art. Yeah, that's right. Back and forth.
What kind of breed is this?
He's a Yorkie.
A Yorkie. Whoa.
Yeah.
Cute.
Only 5 weeks old.
My lord.
And you should have heard them yapping before the show. Like, just forget about it. Come on, put him up on the screen one more time. You know, we ain't here to see your grill. We're here to see his grill. Like, look at that. Oh, and then welcome to This Week in Puppy Love. That's right.
All right, I'm going to put it back before he starts crying.
Oh, no, it's all good. It's all good. Yes, indeed. So, yes, this game, see the screen you're looking at right now, Marciano? Yep. I got stuck here. Like, I was playing with Everborn. I got stuck in this screen to the point where after I'm trying to get out of it, it won't let me get out because we're in co-op, right? And he's like, we're moving. It's not letting you move. Like, I can't see anything. I hear my gun shooting. Issues like that. A lot of people have complained about stuff like that. But when it's firing on all cylinders, this game is a co-op dream, man. 4 teams going in, murking fools. Like, you know, the environment is so destructible. Like, it is just so detailed. The rain, everything. The aesthetic is just fantastic. And it's 12 teams, literally a team of 12 people, beginning to end. You know, and that's including your marketing and this and that. Obviously, I'm sure early in it was reported that early in the development phase, Microsoft they pitched this to Microsoft and they were like, "Yep, you guys are in Game Pass day one. Let's do this." You know, so the money was the bag was delivered. You know, I don't know. Have you tried this yet?
No. You are always like 6 months ahead of me. At least.
Well, you know, a game comes out, I want to give it a shot. So I download the thing and then of course my backlog gets huger and huger. But you know what?
Does look good.
While I have you on this conversation, I still have a bone that I have been picking with you every time I get a chance to, and I'm going to continue picking that bone right now. So what are you gaming on?
Comes out, I will do it.
Wait, he knows where I'm going. He knows where I'm going, ladies and gentlemen. He knows where I'm going. This man. When did you acquire a Series X?
Well, you tweeted me. You shared a tweet with me that said Xbox Series X will be available in Canada because I'm in Canada tomorrow or something. So they're available now. So I immediately hopped on and immediately ordered it. But I have a very strong.
When was this? When was this? Give us a date.
I can look it up.
A rough date. January.
Yeah, maybe
somewhere like that in 2021. Like that. Yeah,
so,
right when the year started.
January, February. But.
And this will lead, by the way, to a very interesting conversation. Continue.
This is a totally different podcast episode. For me, if there is no major exclusive launch that makes me go, oh my God, I have to play this, it's just a box with better graphics for existing games.
What? That's so... Okay, so does that mean you're content watching The Matrix on your VHS tape player because you know it's just the same show, you know, on your CRT TV from 1994. You know, it's just the same TV.
I'm kind of
no. Answer the question, bro. Answer the question. You know, no. It's fine. You don't have to listen to Nas on Spotify. No, you could just still continue using that tape because it's the same track. It hasn't changed.
Simple question: yes or no? In the past. When there was
we're not talking about the past. We're talking about today.
It's just a question. It's a question. In the past, when a console launched, like Xbox
here we go again.
Or PlayStation, were there big launch titles? Yes or no?
Bro, I'm not denying that. No one's saying that. I'm denying that.
Experience it.
But at the end of the day, though, what Nintendo and Genesis don't, that was back then. We live in a new world, bro. You two are very unique. Well, unfortunately, here you live. You know, you two are very uniquely qualified for this environment because both of you have not been on the cusp of gaming for a while, and then you joined back in later. Like you're just like Everborn. He's been catching up on a lot of the PlayStation
I'm
and
playing
Xbox.
Mass Effect 3 right now. I'm playing through Mass Effect 3 for the first time.
Exactly. And here's what boggles my mind here, Everborn. And he continues, even though he has a Series X sitting there, he will continue playing Mass Effect. He will play Gears of War. He will play all these other games that we've been experiencing, but he will insist on continuing to play them on the One S until a game comes out that he feels is worthy. But and what bugs me? What bugs me is all you need to do is literally, whichever game it is you're playing, I don't care what it is, try it on the Series X. I guarantee you will never turn your 1S on ever again. But he refuses to try it.
I only have one question for you, sir.
That's right, Slow-Mo. The 1S. Slow-Mo, this man is playing on the 1S when he has a Series X sitting at the crib for almost half a year now.
Look, why do you hate yourself?
Exactly.
This is the question. Right?
This is the question, damn it.
I don't understand, right? Like I understand if you weren't able to secure one, but you have it right there, and now you're not playing it out of spite,
bro.
Right?
You know what I'm looking for that magic moment where you plug in the new console and put in that new game that was made for that console, and you fire it up, and your mind is blown.
Listen, let me tell you something. Those days are long gone.
Go back to Nintendo, man. Go back to 1992. You know,
if you want that, and those days are going to be gone for Sony tunes soon as well. If you want that, get a PC.
Yeah,
right. Like that's really it. Like, and some people don't want to believe this, or some people. Are hoping it's still fighting, you know what I mean? Inevitability, right? What is happening is hardware is going to become agnostic. And what will define a platform or an ecosystem is going to be sort of the brand, right? Like, so that's it. Is like this will be an Xbox game that will be played across.
It's like Netflix. See where we are today with Netflix? That's where everyone's going.
It is the PC model. And your Series X is a simplified PC that doesn't have all the complexities that you like to deal with. But you will always get the best graphics on. Most times you'll get the best graphics on PC, right? But they're saying they don't care, and they're not going to be designing games around that. Like every game they make is going to be basically designed for PC first. And then the console versions of it will take advantage of the different things that they've built into the hardware there. But I don't think you're going to see that. I don't think you're going to see that anymore, right?
So we got OG.
Be one game. Sorry, go ahead.
No, please. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. Finish.
No, so there's not going to be one game that is going to be released on the Xbox that will not also be on the PC. So it won't really be designed for that box.
I will.
Not by Microsoft anyway.
Maybe I will push back on your last point just a little bit, because this is a cheat, but it kind of works. The only way you're playing Flight Sim today without spending $5,000 is an Xbox. That's the only way you're going to be able to successfully play Flight Sim, right? There are so many dyed-in-the-world Flight Sim fans who are not ready to buy that 3080, are not ready to get the high-end specs necessary to run that thing at even like bare minimum spec. The only way you're doing it now is a Series S or X. So that kind of makes that kind of an exclusive.
But your point is only valid if he wants to play Flight Sim. If he doesn't care about Flight Sim,
that's just one. That's just one.
And
I will say OG here has a point. Not everybody's against you. OG here is with you. He's got your back. We appreciate OG being in the community. He's saying that he's not mad at you for wanting to wait for the Series X.
I'm furious.
I think it's ridiculous. I think it's absolutely ridiculous that you're doing
Why? This. What, you have it right there.
It's not that you don't have one.
Choosing to play it in the worst place that you could play it.
But hey, hear me out. If there was ever a moment where I could still, considering everything you said, you guys are both right. This is over. The last semblance of holding on to that old thing is waiting for Halo Infinite, unboxing, putting Halo Infinite in.
And the funny thing about that, and that's great that you say that. The funny thing about it is they did the Halo beta, the technical test, and they showed it running on the OG 1S. It's running fine. Like, unlike Cyberpunk.
Stop.
Hold on.
Because you got to make him keep his system.
No, but this is my point. This is my point. Unlike, let me get the point. Unlike Cyberpunk,
you're killing your own argument.
I know, but I'm trying to tell him that he needs to get out of that mindset, because then that thing will be in the box forever. You know, unlike Cyberpunk,
it's gonna be better on the Series X regardless, right?
Unlike Cyberpunk, which was basically engineered for next gen, and they try to backfill to last gen, that thing was built for last gen, and they're front filling, adding extras for new gen, right? So even the OG, like your old workhorse with the laptop CPUs, they still run fine on that. You know, the point is, if you're in that mindset, you're going to lose a lot this gen, because like Everborn has correctly pointed out, it's not about, back in those days, they had nothing else but, hey, my box plays what your box can't, right? But back then, they were not in the x86 world. They weren't mini PCs. They were all very much bespoke little things running it, and their claim to fame were the content that they were playing. Right now, it's a different world, man. You can play the same game in multiple sources, right? Multiple places. And what is a game right now? The most recent game that you have been that have been like whenever necessary you're going to it. I know that for a while it was Metal Gear Solid. What are you playing now?
Me.
Yeah, you.
Yeah, for some reason I'm now playing Mass Effect 3. I'm kind of done with Metal Gear Solid because now they got me replaying the missions I already played, but now you can't get caught. Yeah. I get that that's fun, but I'm at 41% and I'm literally hundreds of hours in on this thing. Like, of course, yeah, that just adds life to the title, I guess, but it's not my jam. So now I'm doing Mass Effect 3. I'm also like playing like I really love GTA 4. I was telling you, I actually got this.
I see you playing GTA 4.
I got this Xbox to play GTA 4.
See,
I understand this now. So he only plays like last gen games.
But
so that's why
that makes my point still. No, but that still makes my point. He waits for that 3-minute load time on GTA 4 when it could be friggin' instant on the Series X. Like he waits. Like,
but isn't it like going super large and buying a girl you just kind of like and buying her a chunky diamond ring? Shouldn't I be waiting for the dime?
Bruh.
Hold on. Does she cook and clean and read to the seeds? Then she deserves the rock. God damn it.
As Slow-Mo points out, they still play better on the Series X. This is just hardware to get you to the ideal experience. And real quick, shout out to the indie gamer who's in here. Thank you so much for joining us. He put me on to Omno. I was checking out his reviews. Omno is also absolutely amazing, and I saw his review of it, and it got me hooked, and I'm still playing that today. So I appreciate you coming out and supporting. Yes, sir.
Completely unrelated to what we're talking about, but
yeah, go ahead.
Your character is just on screen in the Ascent, and that's a big problem I have with the game. We were talking about this offline,
yes,
so we can bring it up here.
Yes,
the game tries to pretend to be an RPG, which I don't think it does very well at, and they would have been better doubling down on the RPG aspects or foregoing them altogether. Right. However, the thing that really bothers me is that in their desire to be a pseudo RPG, they let you or pretend to let you design your character. But your character is the most generic design
garbage
ever. You can't really change anything.
That's right.
Right. Every option looks the same. If you choose the black skin, it's really gray. Right. Like, they would have been better off not letting you pretend to design your character.
They don't even look different faces. Like they don't even have different faces.
The main character model, they should have just took time and designed a male and female character and just left it at that instead of pretending to do this pseudo character creation shit. It is super annoying, and I get it's a top-down game and they spent their sort of LOD budget on the environment and not the characters. So they're like these big, easy to define shapes.
That's right.
But your main character should have had a good design. And
I agree.
That could have been
or they should have just said, screw this. We're not making a character creator. We're just going to create one good design.
But that's exactly what I'm saying. That's it.
Yeah.
They should have that. And the most variation they should have done was make a male character and a female character, and that's it.
Keep it moving. That's right.
You don't get to,
because everything they give you is just weak and unnecessary, and it takes away from the experience. Like it's a half-assed effort, and it points to flaws in it. That you shouldn't have even shown us that. You should have just given us one male, one female, and kept it moving. I do agree that is like. That is indicative of this game in general. There's just a lot of little rough edges here and there, but it's just so much fun and so deep and full of such potential if they could only work out those little teeny tiny logistics, you know.
I need to say something else about this game. I tried it.
Look at the detail back there. Look at the back there.
And
it's insane.
It's amazing to look at, but I cannot get into it. And I can't. No, it is the you see where the reticle is, like that's what you would be shooting.
Mm-hmm.
Like it is very hard to aim that at enemies with the
Sure.
other.
Yeah. Have you been a Diablo player? Have you played Diablo like a lot? Have you really played Diablo?
On PC, I played it before, but then you use your mouse and have
That's
precision
right.
on what you're
looking at. This is also very
This
much
is
like that on the PC.
Very difficult to use a controller with this one.
It takes some getting used to. I'm good with it. This is me on the PC on the controller. I'm good with it, but I do understand that if you're not used to this type of aesthetic, that's this type of control scheme on the asymmetric camera like that it makes it a little difficult to get your bearings on. This is also available on PC, brother man, who has a powerful beast of a machine. You know, I understand that it's not calling your name, so you might just like drop it. But
I play games on the couch unless I have no other option. Slow-mo. Yeah, there's a 3080 here.
Indie gamer on point once again. Ruiner. This has Ruiner calls very much so. And Ruiner was like just like this, but it's exactly what you want, Everborn. Without any of the RPG stuff, it's just twin stick, cyberpunk hardcore shooter, just like this. This looks very much like Ruiner, although this has a lot more. It goes for more ambitious, and there's just a lot more to it. But yes, I
just think it would be better if you didn't have that, and you could kind of just shoot straight like forward, right? And everything goes all the way forward, because if that's where it's going to hit the ground at, right? Like so, when you're aiming, do the bullets? No, right. I'm not moving the PC to the living room. God damn it! Then I got to deal with Windows updates.
You don't need to move your PC to the living room. You don't have any kind of Android-based set-top box. You can run Steam Link. Boom. You can run any kind of third-party software.
Then you're gonna have to deal with that kind of lag. We're not doing.
There is no lag from the office to the living room. What kind of old PC busted thing do you got anyway? Continue. Yes.
No. But the point is, and I have a 43-inch Acer Predator monitor, so it's 4K, 144 hertz.
Okay.
So it's like a TV, but it's nowhere near as good as the OLED. So when I do begrudgingly game on PC, even though I know the performance there is better, the PC experience is so bad that I'll sacrifice the graphics. But anyway,
what do you mean it's so bad?
I said it.
That's a very heated topic to bring up, to say just like flippantly the PC experience. Like what? I think he's trying to trigger the slow-mo backslap. Appreciate you being in here, slow-mo. Don't mind him. The words coming out of Everborn's mouth do not represent the gaming circle.
You were saying the same thing offline. Don't lie, man.
The words of Everborn Saga do not represent the gaming circle as a whole. But no, I understand that you prefer to game on the console.
The only reason I did Cyberpunk on PC
because it was the only way to get that thing to play remotely.
And I bought it on Xbox first and was like, no, I'm not doing this. And then went over to the big board.
Actually,
machine.
Believe it or not, I actually still have it. I actually still have the game on PC, but I'm kind of waiting to see what CDPR does to the console version. So I'm actually kind of like 50% in, and I haven't continued. I'm rolling a female and a male character on either side, and I'm just kind of waiting to see what they do with their updates, because I still get T-poses even on PC from time to time when I'm playing that. So I've kind of
like the DLSS, man.
Which I have, it's done a lot. It's just it's still a little bit on the buggy side. But all right, so I guess let's round this back up here, okay? Marciano, what can we do to get you to open that damn box? Because it is my lifelong mission.
One second, hold on. I'm not saying that the game experience itself is bad. I'm saying everything around gaming on PC is bad. That is what I'm saying.
And then
the game experience itself
and then
is better.
Slow-mo touches what you just said with his comment, which I'll post right here real quick. I'll just leave that there.
Yeah, that's because he cannot refute what I'm saying with facts. So he has resorted to insults to protect his PC platform of choice.
Sorry, Marciano. This is what you get when you join us. Nothing but slander on a Saturday morning.
Slow-mo is the real platform warrior.
Indeed. So yes, what can we do? Like, so you think, just to round it back up, because I really want to understand the basis of your conversation here. You think that there needs to be some kind of exclusive, only available on this piece of plastic, can't be available anywhere else. Kind of like you think that like only way the HBO Max you can watch The Matrix 4 is on HBO Max. It's not available anywhere else. You got to get HBO Max if you want to watch The Matrix 4. Otherwise, you just won't be able to see The Matrix 4. That's what you want. Want for Xbox.
How many shows are on Netflix? Netflix originals. Exclusive.
But see, your analogy there is actually funny because yes, Netflix originals exclusive, but you can play that on your PlayStation, you can play that on your Xbox, you can play that on your phone, you can play that on the old device, you can play that on the new device.
Okay, it's a bad example.
Exactly. You just ruined your own argument, my friend.
I just want to be a kid.
and of course, that Netflix exclusive, when you're playing it on your old device, it loads a little slow. It gives you 1080p. You're fine. If you happen to be playing it on your OLED, then all of a sudden you get the bout it visual. You see, you just lost your own argument.
Forget Netflix. I'm just saying, I want to experience that old feeling of first day, new game, only on that platform. I mean, Halo 3, that feeling.
You won't get that, man. It's
not happening, right?
It's just not going to happen. Like if you want that artificial feeling for a little bit, seek out a PlayStation because they will give you that for at least, I'm saying, for at least 2 more years
until they integrate Nixus.
Until Nixus is fully integrated, and the Dutch company, what they're all about, right? And they've even come out like come out the mouth and said it
at the beginning of this show. Racist
Black people and Dutch people.
And the Dutch.
The racists and the Dutch.
And the Dutch.
Oh, yeah, no, racists and the Dutch.
That's right.
Very specific, by the way.
So yeah, if you want to live in that fakey artificial scarcity world, PlayStation got you back for maybe 2 more years, I think.
Well, if I could get my hands on a PlayStation, that'd be nice.
But don't you realize that that's ridiculous? Like, you want to live in that world where it's only available. Not really, but we're kind of make it feel like that. And then you have to pay your 75. Oh no, but you're in Canada, so we're talking what, 100 and something. I saw the mag up in here. How much are you paying for your games on PlayStation 5? Like almost $110 for exclusive for deluxe version.
I want the PlayStation 5 to just play the exclusives.
Which is why I bought them.
That's what I use the PlayStation for.
So then it does make sense. What are you talking about?
No. I'm not saying it doesn't make sense. I'm saying that is an old business model that we should all be smart enough to get away from.
Yeah,
I get that that's what PlayStation does, and they'll continue to do that. That's fine by me. That's fine. But people shouldn't be all like, "Yep, if you're not exclusive beholden, then you're not doing it right." No. That's a stupid old way of thinking, and PlayStation works and wins. Sony continues to steal the bag whenever you do their work for them by thinking that way. It's not that way. They need to innovate. They need to provide you things that no one else can provide you. Not in a fake manner, in a real manner. Their DualSense. Okay, that's a good option. Although I think that's a bit of a bad pill to swallow, because now you have this cool feature that's locked behind this thing, and now every time you buy a game, they want to charge you an extra $10 just to be able to let the shaky happen. Like, you bought the controller so that you can use it, but now that means an extra 10 just so you can have that. Like, so real quick, Everborn, this man, Marciano, is such a samurai fan. He has samurais tattooed on his body. Okay, I told him that the thing that he needs, and I don't know if you've played this, the thing that he needs to play to complete his life is Ghost of Tsushima. Okay. Because it is the ultimate samurai / ninja simulator. Have you played this?
Have I? No, but I do want to say something about Ghost of Tsushima, right?
Because you know where I'm going with it. Continue. Yes.
Well, no. But I if you have not played the game before and you're just looking at it in a vacuum, I think $70 is fine, because
I don't
but now the issue that you're bringing up about how they're justifying that extra $10, I feel like all of that language should have been unnecessary, and it is really taxing on my nerves. Just say we're charging you $70 as asshole tax.
That's not what
whatever
they want.
It is. Just its next gen is PS5 is $70. That's it. Don't try to say it's because of lip sync and rumble controls. You charging $70. That's it. There's nothing wrong with that. Just
they are training the consumer. Here's the issue there, Marciano. Okay, if you have this game on PS4, you're paying $20 for the new expansion, right? That's what you're paying, right? Now, that won't include Japanese lip sync that they chose to add after the fact. This game is fully playable now, right? It's 60 frames. They've already done their little bespoke patch, unlike Microsoft, which has that environment with the VM with the emulators and VM, so they can like tweak the back end and give you 60 frames immediately. PlayStation has to go in and bespoke tweak it so that you can use the new hardware. They've already done that for PS5. So there is a PS4.5 aware version of this game. So it's able to give you the 60 frames, even though it's still a PS4 game, right? So this new update will give you a new expansion, which will give you like a smaller, but still a new world, a new little island to play in. And they've added a bunch more stuff, this and that, including Japanese lip sync, which kind of gives you more of that aesthetic of if you've played this game, bro, it is you watching those old samurai movies. Even there's even a mode that gives you Kurosawa mode where like it intensifies everything in black and white. It's just nuts. Okay, so the problem is though, if you have this on PS4, you're paying $20. Keep it moving, no problem. If you have it on PS5, you're paying $30. But they're not saying you're paying $30 for the quality of this update. I'm ready to pay $30. Here's my money. They're saying, no. You're paying $20 for that same update, that same DLC you can get on PS4, but then you're paying an extra $10 so that you can use the haptics. That device, that thing that you paid for when you paid $500 to be able to use those features. Yeah, that's like saying, okay, you now have this OLED screen, right? It's inky black. It's cool. It gives you all this awesome features, right? Here is The Matrix on Netflix. How about you throw us an extra $10 if you want to use that HDR, even though that comes built into the system? How about you throw us an extra little, and all my PC people that are in the chat here are probably losing their mind if they have that thought. Imagine Steam goes, oh yeah, see this game, this is amazing. On Steam, there's the ray tracing version. How about you throw us an extra $10 to then be allowed to use that feature that your hardware that you paid for allows for? No. We're going to keep that behind another paywall so that you have to pay an extra $10 for that right. Like you were saying, Everborn, don't say that. Just say you're charging me $70. Yeah, that's not what they want. They want to continue to train the consumer so that every time they release a game that costs $10 more on the newer platform.
Wouldn't you also be training the consumer if you just said, we're not giving you an explanation? It costs what it costs. It's $30 because it's on PS5. Just say that. That's what I would appreciate. If you just came out and said that, it's not like your people are not going to defend you anyway. Right?
Yeah, exactly. They are very cocky at this point. That's where we are. They are super cocky because there are those that are diehards that will support them and no matter what they do. So they're coming out the mouth going, hey, you deserve it. Here's again, 10 extra bucks to be paid.
I do not think that there's like everyone has to put a value on what they want. Right. Mm-hmm. And if you have a PS5 and you're going to play the best version of that game until they put it on PC, right? That was for you, Slow-Mo. Then you're paying the $10 extra. Just say that. But they don't want to say it's just because you're playing it on PS5. They want to try to make it out like it's all these other things. And that's the part that I don't appreciate. And I don't know that I appreciate people making excuses for it. You're paying it because you're on a PS5. It's not any extra shit that couldn't be done on the on the PS4. Not for this.
100%, 100%. I completely agree with you, and that is the issue of the issue we have here. The idea that they're training people. They're at a level of cockiness where it's like, yeah, you're gonna pay for it, and you're gonna pay the little extra because our rumble triggers require that you do so. Oh, and by the way, we're gonna give you these rumble triggers in a controller without a battery, and everybody's gonna be full-throated. About defending that because at the end of the day, why are you giving me one with a Duracell? Yeah, because then I can change that later when it dies. This rumble trigger thing, you're going to have to replace the whole controller when it dies.
Listen, long story short, and I know this has been sort of discussed to death.
Yes,
the
it has.
price on that game is a business decision and not a technical decision, right? Yep. That is the driver. That's the driver. It's not the whatever they did technically. It is just a business decision.
It is driven by the business, and because they're at that level of mind share and all that, they feel like it'll be justified.
I don't like to bring morality into these arguments because at the end of the day, Sony, Microsoft, all of them, they're all
none of them
corporations
are moral.
whose job, right?
They are devices for getting money. Of course.
Right. Their job is to separate you from your money,
from your dollar. That's right.
And Microsoft plays the game a little bit. I think Jaffe said it, like they're all prostitutes. Sony's just like, listen, $70 for 30 minutes. Let's go in the back of the truck. And then Microsoft is the one you hire to go to a wedding with you.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
To play the game. They'll play the game.
Because Microsoft will pretend to be your girlfriend if you want. They'll sell you that dream, even though at the end of the day they both are still the same thing, separating you from your ducats. The question you have to ask yourself is, how do you feel about your ducats being separated from you? Do you feel like a fool when your ducats are separated? Do you feel like clutching your purse? Or are you happy to go, hey, I'll give you more money later? That's what the game they're playing. I have no issues with the way Microsoft's playing their game, because when they come out the mouth and they go incorrect, we're ready to let them know it, and then they're like, "Whoop, my bad. Let's push back real quick, and then let's fix that for you."
I mean, at the end of the day, I don't think it's just like, I'm not going to go to a restaurant that has amazing food but bad customer service, right? Like,
so are you trying to say that Game Pass is bad food but good customer service? Because that's what a lot of PlayStation people like to say.
You took it there. I didn't say that.
No, because that's where they take it. That's where I'm going there with it.
They can take it wherever they want to take it. What I'm saying is, like,
what wasn't it Jeff Keighley that called it? What did he call it? He called PlayStation premium movie content, whereas Game Pass is Netflix.
Yeah, but Netflix has had more Oscar nominations than any of these individual movie studios in the last 5 years. But that's neither here nor there. We're not ready to have that conversation.
Indeed.
Marriage Story, The Irishman. We can keep Roma.
Roma,
was one.
Indeed.
So we can going. Have that's that true. Discussion.
But anyway, you understand what they say when they mean.
Yeah, I know what they're implying, but this is not about that. I'm just saying, you are as a consumer.
Yeah.
You don't have
basic
to
cable. Facts. Very true.
That's
what he did. He called it basic cable.
Like, you don't have to back them up. You could say, I'm buying. Like, I'll tell you right now. How much did Death's Door cost? I don't even remember. $20, $16 on sale?
$20, $23, I think, something like that.
Yeah,
$16 on sale. Yeah.
I would have happily paid $60 for that game, for the amount of time that I got of it and enjoyed.
Well, but you didn't know that you were going to spend that until you spent it. Because when I first introduced it to you, you were like, "Oh, this is being referred to as Zelda."
Yeah, don't mess with Zelda. No, I'm still not messing with Zelda.
No, but now you see its value. Now you see that, hey, it's actually worth the price of admission.
It is worth more than what they asked. So I completely get that. I'm just saying that this sort of defense force that we see come out, like, I don't understand. And not because things are in Game Pass means we're saying you shouldn't buy anything, because that's the other dumb argument that people distill around it on the other side.
I always give people my example. I use AMC A-List, the subscription model for movies. I see 3 movies a week. I don't do that anymore, pandemic, but needless to say, I used to do that all the time. Before I did that, you'd see me at the CVS kind of go grab some stuff so I can sneak it into the movie. Now, after the Stubbs A-List, I'll peruse the aisle. I'll buy some popcorn. Why? Because I basically get the movie for free with my subscription. Same thing with Game Pass.
Do you see the nacho machine back there?
I see the nacho machine back there. The man takes his movie seriously.
His never
movie
going back to
experience takes it serious.
Not with the 65-inch OLED and the
and the Dolby Atmos.
Yeah,
that's right. But no, I completely understand why there are those who seem to fear the changing of the guard, and that's why I brought all this up. It kind of works in that whole mindset with the exclusives talk. They're afraid of the changing of the guard. I'm not saying that's where you are, Marciano, because I know where you're coming from with it. But there are a lot of people who are afraid of the changing of the status quo, where the box that came to your house represented how you played whatever you wanted to play, and it wasn't anywhere else but that box. So you can go, nah, my box is great and yours doesn't have it, And now that world doesn't exist anymore. We don't have as many exclusives, quote unquote exclusives, as we used to. So people are kind of fighting very hard to keep the thing they remember the same, even when that's not true. Like. I would say, Marciano, give some of these people who are a little unstable and worried about their future in gaming, give them something to hold on to, because yes, the changing of the guard is happening. It is very true that there will come a world where these pieces of hardware just become bridges to get to the platform that is the content. But why is that a bad thing from a developer's perspective? Why is that something to be worried about, or is that not something to be worried about? Like, how do you see that whole idea of, we're all moving to a subscription model?
This is super good for gaming.
Yeah, you don't think that it becomes like Game Pass fodder kind of thing?
No, I think what it does, one good thing about it is it kind of removes this fear that new gamers have of putting up $70 for a game that they're not 100% sure about. And of course, with Game Pass, you can. I think we're all doing that. We install it, we like it, or we don't. So, with Microsoft's plan is for you to be able to game anywhere. So I think just based on that, purely for the industry and for gamers, I think ultimately we'll be better off. I mean, it sucks for people like me who are like, I want that old school approach of this game is just on this platform. But ultimately, it's like Everborn already said, we're totally moving away from that. The content, like you said, becomes the platform almost. You can get that content anywhere. And it's just, how do you choose to access that content, that platform? Is it a PC? Is it your mobile phone? Is it your console? If you really look at it from a very clear mind, PlayStation is completely behind right now. I don't know what they're doing.
Even though they have the mind share still. But yeah,
they still have the mind share of everybody like,
yeah.
PlayStation. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, you will have people that are getting new phones, playing the game on their PC when they're traveling, Xbox, on their Xbox One to the screen.
Botting a little bit.
You just turned into the Terminator.
Yeah, botting a little
how
bit.
About now?
Maybe turn off the screen, turn off the video.
No, I think he's good now. now.
Yeah, you might be.
Fine?
You're right. You're fine now. Yeah, continue.
I was saying that people will be playing their game on mobile. They'll be playing it on their Xbox, and they'll be playing it on their computer, on their laptop when they're traveling. I think for gaming, this is all really good. I understand the skepticism, but I have not heard a single developer yet complain publicly. But I have seen a lot of threads about complaints about Sony.
Well, so let me ask you a question though. Just from the develop, because like I said, I am a software engineer, but I don't, in my role, because I work in the finance industry, I don't develop software that really worries much about hardware, right? And I think game development is very different, because you have to consider the constraints that your game is going to run on. Meaning, what are the hardware? What's the hardware architecture? What are the tools like? What's available? Do you think having to support all the different platforms required for this new world, where content is at the center of everything, does that hamper design? I know it plays a factor in design, but does it actually hold design back? Does it make it more difficult on the developer?
I think we'll never see what the Xbox Series X could truly do fully, because the developers now have to keep in mind.
Wait, hold on. See, Microsoft is trying to sabotage you because you said that.
There you go. Try again.
How's it like this?
Yeah, it's good.
We hear you perfectly. Speak.
Oh yeah. So I said.
No. I think you got to keep the camera off.
Keep the camera off for a little bit, because I think you're.
But you can talk while the camera's off.
Yeah. We may have lost him. I hope not. Oh
damn.
no, that was terrible. Microsoft stopped him in his
Philly
tracks. No.
cheesesteak got to him.
No.
Phil Dominant sent the shooter.
The sniper came out real quick. Okay. If you hear us, Marciano, you can disconnect and reconnect back up, and we'll get you back on. We're seeing you in a very body kind of fashion. I'll remove him and see if we can bring him back at some point. But no, interesting question you're asking of him. You're seeing whether or not that development is held back by the weakest common denominator.
Again, I think that because held back is used as a
it's used as a cudgel, which is not the case here. It's not
right.
What we
so
meant. Yeah.
my and I can only speak from speculation because I don't.
We're not in those rooms.
The development that I do doesn't really consider the hardware that it's running on. Right. I develop apps that are going to run in your browser. So I just say, well, we have to support Chrome and we have to support Firefox and Edge.
And
right?
even those come with their restraints, right? They come with their guidelines, just like the console hardware does.
But they don't hold back your design. That's I'm saying it is different when it comes to games because they're coding much closer to the metal
to the metal, yes, and I am. It matters more.
I cannot speak to that because even the games that I develop in Unity, I don't really think about the hardware, like not really.
Yeah, because right? you're not stressing out the hardware. You're not using tapping into the hardware. Yeah, you're right.
So I'm just using whatever APIs and whatever tools that are available in Unity, but I'm not considering like, well, if you're on an Xbox and you have this many compute units and this many teraflops and memory is going to come in this fast that I have to develop in this way. That's, so I do wonder if, even though you have to consider those constraints, every developer, no matter who you are, has constraints they have to deal with, right?
Of course. Yeah.
A constraint is, even if you're only developing on a single platform, your constraint is then what the hardware architecture is like, right? So your constraints are, well, the SSD is on the PlayStation it works at this speed. That's a constraint. We can't design something that requires 20 gigabits a second, right? The CPU is this, the GPU is this, and then there's those variable clocks, and we have to design around that, right? They're not designing the game as though they had the same power that you have in your 3080 or 3090. So you have to deal with constraints. So, but does that mean it is held back? And that's really the question.
In a pejorative fashion, you could say it's held back, but realistically, and the man has returned. Thank you so much for joining us again.
Did you catch any of that I said?
No, I don't know what happened, but I couldn't get back in.
Yeah. No worries. You're back in. You're looking good. It sounds great. We were talking about the idea that since the gaming development specifically is done so close to the metal, and you take the hardware profile so closely when you're making those decisions, the question remains: how much does, let's say in the case of like the Series S, for instance, how much does that hold back the idea of the developer because we must adhere to the weakest common denominator?
I mean, not even the Series S. I think that PC is probably
they are definitely the common denominator.
The min specs on PC are the lowest common denominator. But what I'm saying is, as if you're going to develop in this new world where you are hardware agnostic, and the graphics will scale, but you can't scale the game design. Does this mean that this approach is holding back, or is what I would argue is holding games back is the wrong word, because I think the benefits of
is it
this
limiting
far
is it
outweigh.
limiting the designer's vision because I can't do that on the weakest common denominator. I have to adhere to the weakest common denominator, so I can't do that. I personally, from what I know, I think there's a bit of that, but that's just part and parcel of the experience. Like no one's ever going to build a game that adheres to the minimum spec of a 3080. That's just never going to happen unless we're talking maybe 30 years from now when the 3080 becomes a minimum spec, right? Nobody will ever hit that at its high, right? They will always go for the medium to make sure they get as many humans as possible to be able to jump into the fray. You can target the highest end. Look at Star Citizen. It targets a very high end spec. How many people have actually been able to play it? A lot of money to go in. Not too many people can actually get any of the benefits out of it because it requires such high end requirements just to get into it. So and I'll let Marciano, hopefully, and you're stuck again. I think you should take your camera off so that it lets the audio free. I think I'll let Marciano answer more specifically to the developer side of the house. But I would say that I think that because of the fact that you have certain constraints on AI and things like that, that certain CPUs, more CPU than GPU, right? Certain and he will try and rejoin us again. Because of more CPU.
Yeah, when he
GPU
comes back, let's let him talk right away.
Exactly.
We
may lose him again. That's right. And we're gonna wrap up in a minute. Because of all those constraints, it seems to me that that's the reason why you will never ever hit the actual pinnacle. Oh yeah, this is the end of its hardware, unless you're at the end of its life cycle. Like unless you get something like your Last of Us 2 during the end of the PS4 life cycle, because at that point they know they're at that life cycle and they've already planned for PS5 coming around the block, so they can stretch out the PS4 a bit more. You know what I'm saying? Like they would never do that in the beginning of the gen. They wouldn't even be able to do that at the beginning of the gen because they wouldn't have that understanding of the hardware. And even if they did, there would be no benefit to doing that. What do you think?
I mean, yes. I don't know. I think
because remember, as we keep talking about, this is a business. They don't want it to be so high end that it's cost prohibitive for most people, right? So
I understand that, but I'm saying the inclusion of PC in all your designs does that. I don't know that it limits things, only because every third party game, or almost every third party game, is also available on PC these days.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. And with the exception of certain PlayStation games, which that's why they can look the way they can, because they don't adhere to the PC spec. Right? They've only adhered to the PlayStation 4, and they can work their logistics and work their magic because they know exactly how to tweak that hardware profile more than any other hardware profile. Right? So that may change when Nix is in the picture now, and now they're porting everything to PC. They can't do that anymore.
But I think there's a difference between porting to PC after the fact, after you've already made your game without considering
100%. 100%. But I hear you, and you're 100% correct on that. 100%. But I do say that if you have a porting, we're going to port it to PC after the fact mindset, there are certain things that you might do differently from jump to anticipate that. Marciano, you're back. Before we lose you, you may want to turn off your camera so that it keeps the audio flowing. And please, from a developer's perspective, what are your thoughts on the idea that you have to limit your hardware, limit your output because you're working in an environment where, somebody might have weaker hardware, the PC has a really slow CPU or whatever? Is that always a factor in the equation when game design is being thought of, like right at that beginning jump? Or what is the factors that they consider when they're doing that? Is it solely hardware? Is it business? That's what we're discussing. Do you understand where I'm coming from?
Yeah, so it's really contextual also, right?
Okay.
So it depends on if you have a very minimalistic game that would basically feel the same whether it's on the most powerful console or on a mobile, it has less impact. Let's say Tetris or something.
Fact, Last Emperor. Continue.
Yeah, for like what he just said. But if we're talking AAA, like huge console games, like Cyberpunk as a bad example, here you're going to have discussions that very early on it already starts coming up, where you'll have, oh, we want to take it in this direction as far as game design, and you will have engineers immediately pointing out, okay, and artists,
but that breaches what we can do on the older side.
This is what we can do, and this is what we can do. And then it also again depends on the company. You'll have companies that say, we are going to have dedicated teams. You're going to have your all-star team where the core of the game is basically made, and then we'll have our, let's call it, secondary platforms, where we're like making sure that it still performs well. And there may even be things that are happening in one game that are technically not happening on other games, so that it can run in an optimal way. I'm not sure what I'm looking at on the screen.
I'm like, it's so weird and floaty. It's almost like he doesn't belong in the environment. So I just started doing some up and down bouncing weird things. So it was just stupid. Anyway, continue.
So I think we'll see that. I mean, the EAs of the world can afford that. So this thing of having games run on multiple platforms obviously is not new. You know, back in the days, it had to run on the Xbox One and the Xbox 360. This has just moved that needle, and I think we all know what it means. It's just, it looks less good, but I'm with Everborn. It definitely limits studios and like that ultimate experience. I don't know if we'll ever know if what they sell to us as the ultimate experience is actually the ultimate experience.
Yeah, it never is. It never is.
If they didn't have to consider any other platforms, that would be the ultimate experience.
That's right. You want to live in a world where they're building the tip of the spear just to see if they can. But that doesn't make business sense. They will never do that. Like, you will never see the end of this hardware until they're at its end and are ready to move to new hardware, because it doesn't make sense from a business perspective to throw all those eggs in that one basket when at the end of the day most people can't enjoy that, right? Most people have the weaker common denominator. Like I was just telling Everborn, there's just no way that like if Cyberpunk was built for our computers and our computers alone, it would be a magnificent experience.
That's kind of how it was built.
No, it's not.
It didn't work.
No, it's not, because their AI still sucks even on our machines. You can tell their AI is very primitive, because they did not take our CPUs into consideration. They were taking the old school machines into consideration. And as such, the CPUs, like, you know, the minute you leave an area, you can tell all the AI like leaves with it. Like, they're there only for you, right? And you can see it on Cyberpunk. And those are the gives and takes I suspect that they made.
So down. I want to go down this path a little bit. Now, when we say that games cannot be full, see, I just think that I don't know that I like the word held back.
Yeah, I don't agree with that either.
I think 1000% design decisions are made based on the hardware you are going to support, and I'm not a fan of the Series S. I've said this many times. Well, let me not say I'm not a fan.
I love it. I think it's great.
I'm dubious of its prospects. That's what I'll say.
I think it's going to be great, and there's more to be seen with that thing. They're just showing you what they can show you right now. But continue.
Yeah, but I'm more thinking like 5 years from now, right?
Yeah, I agree, anyway. And I still think that there's more to be shown on that hardware.
Yeah.
But continue,
but that being said, where does DX12 play in all of this, or DX12 Ultimate? That sort of is trying to unify the APIs between.
And fun speculation. Mav brings up a great point. What you're describing there. There you go. Continue.
Yeah. Like, so with DirectX Ultimate 12, where they're trying to have this unified GDK where all the tools that you use will work across PC and console.
That's right.
Does that afford for developers to have this sort of uniform vision when they want to create something? And even though it will be running across, they'll have to basically scale the graphical output, but I guess you can't scale things like AI, but maybe you do AI in the cloud. So this is what I'm saying. There's so many sort of different angles to look at this from. And to me, the way I look at it is, what separates the men from the boys, or the women from the from the girls
we
in
get your
terms of
analogy.
development, right? Is once the constraints are defined and the tool set is defined, it is what you do from
excel beyond them, just like Insomniac does, just like Naughty Dog does. Yes, I completely agree. To your point about the hardware profile and the CPU and all of that, from what I learned while watching the GameStack Live stuff from Microsoft's show a couple months ago, what they did there, and Mav's comment there was very apt. They designed a lot of the velocity architecture and a bunch of the tools that the Xbox is putting in their GDK. They designed that as an offshoot to DirectX 12 Ultimate. So a lot of the tools that they're using are leveraged both across PC for future games as well as the console. So that way, when you, the developer, go in to try and make a game, they just say, make your game. They don't yes, there are hardware profiles that require tweaking depending on whether you're running on a Series S or a Series X or a PC proper, which also has all the various different nuances there. But at least from the console perspective, to my understanding, they're making it as seamless as they possibly can in order to entice developers to go down that path easier, right? So that when the time comes for you to start tweaking the Series S, you will be more apt to use the super resolution, the FSR solution that they have there. I know that Microsoft is going to leverage more machine learning stuff to try and increase resolutions with AI right off of jump. That will benefit the Series S greatly in your 4 or 5 years, like you're talking about. So right now, where it's just a game of which arm is stronger, we're doing an arm wrestling race. Yeah, you're right. It looks like Series S might be outmatched, right? But there's so much more to it. There's so much intelligent work that's now being brought to bear that in the next 3 to 5 years, that when they start developing smarter rather than, how strong is your hardware, how much gigahertz this one CPU can output, when that equation changes, just like we're talking about the equation changing with game exclusives versus Netflix of gaming, all of a sudden, I bet you in the next 5 years or so, you will see that this thing will surprise you at its longevity. What do you think, Marciano? Like the hardware spec being as low as it is, and having making developers have to deal with that, for assumingly the entire generation that we're in right now. Do you think that's problematic, or do you think there's more to it than we're seeing today?
Yeah, I think probably what we'll see is that once it lands in everybody's head, like what Everborn was saying before, that this is just where we're headed. This is inevitable. What will happen is studios will start realizing, hey, the way to make the most money is to have games on as many platforms as possible. And they will start changing the structure of their studios to basically meet that. They will start changing the hiring. They will start coming up with ways of how can we most efficiently get a game that works really well on the best running PC and the Xbox Series X, but also runs on mobile. Oh, so we need to invest in our UI skills, because obviously UI on mobile is different than on Xbox Series X. Oh, we need to invest in very skilled engineers who can work on multiple platforms and who have a lot of experience with Unity and Unreal, who have already done projects that are on 10 different platforms. I think we're in this transitional phase. 2 years from now, and Game Pass plays a huge role in this. Obviously, Microsoft's structure and Sony will catch up at one point, and the other
and pretend like they invented it.
And they will definitely
be like, look at this amazing thing we did.
Yeah, they will definitely present it to us like this is what they invented. And let's say that you see a Steam integration or Steam working with Microsoft, it's all gonna be like play whatever you want whenever you want, and studios will they will have to catch up, and you'll have a few hardcore studios that will be like, no, we're sticking with only making stuff for this one platform. But I think 5 years from now, this will just be the norm, and my whole not unpacking the Xbox Series X will look crazy. It already does probably, but it will look really crazy.
Definitely.
How do you know, bruh? How about you take it out the box and find out?
Pause.
Yeah, pause. Take it out the box. Never mind. I appreciate it, man. No,
there's a once you go black joke in there somewhere. I'm just trying to figure it out.
We're moving forward quickly. We're just gonna keep moving forward, just real quick. We're just gonna move forward. And of course, as Cyber Knox joins the conversation, welcome, sir. We're about to wrap up.
We're not, and Cyber, we're not ending the show just because you joined.
Just because you joined. We've just been going for a while, and it's time. But please catch up. We appreciate you. I want to have Cyber on the show one of these days, and we have a lot of.
And we need slow-mo on so I can slander the PC.
Indeed, we're gonna have to have a conversation with slow-mo as well. It should be good. We're gonna do that. But anyway, so. I appreciate everybody joining the conversation. You know, this is not something that's going to end with us, start and end with us. You know, the conversation in general of Black in gaming is something that needs to continue happening. I appreciate everyone joining in that conversation, no matter your pigment of your skin. You know, it's just the idea of diverse voices being able to speak in this environment so that either you yourself get to see yourself on screen, which is wonderful, or you, Caucasian man, get to enjoy some amazing games that you've never experienced before because now the voices are broadening and we're all benefiting from it. So I appreciate everybody
who's all get this money. That's the problem.
Indeed.
People just get so greedy.
That's right. We can all get this grip. Just take it easy. Be easy. Let's do this together. You know what I'm saying? So I appreciate everybody joining us and having this awesome conversation. I appreciate you, Marchiano Loen, for putting up with our BS and joining us again. You know, the man has a lot to say. Caucasian man. yes. Stereotypical Caucasian man, you know.
Hold on.
Yeah, no Caucasian women play games. It's just a Caucasian man.
What's up?
Shout out to OG TK Cole. He says, really enjoyed you guys. Pause, but we appreciate you.
We appreciate you very much. So yes. So no. In general, you know, I always appreciate when folks come out. Don't be afraid to have the conversation. Don't be afraid. You know, even if it's not, you know, just because your skin tone isn't like mine doesn't mean you're not allowed to be a part of the conversation. We all want. I did that. I felt real cool about that. By the way, I got the crab to walk while I was on his back. It was crazy. Y'all need to check out this game. It's amazing. Anyway. So thank you guys so much for joining us. Mr. Marchiano Loen, where can people find you on the internet if they want to strike a conversation? They now know you're part of our great community. Where can they find you?
Yeah, guys, it's awesome being here, man. This was a great conversation. Everborn, KC, at Marchiano Loen. It's right there on the screen. Hit me up. Always down to chat.
Great. I appreciate you coming in. And if there's ever an opportunity you need to promote something you're doing, you want to come and you got something that's going on in the gaming streets, you want to get off your chest, you know, just send the bat signal, bro. You're always welcome to come and join us.
We're always down to be privy to insider information.
For insider information, we're always privy to good.
I want to share.
Please, any dirt you want to drop, we gonna keep your name out the streets. We're just gonna say we know some things. You know what I'm saying?
By the way, last thing, Everborn.
Yes, sir.
When is your game? When do you want to launch your game? When do you?
Oh, that's a whole conversation.
When it's ready. I'm trying to. Yeah,
he's giving you that Cyberpunk 2077, and when it's ready.
Yeah, but they didn't do that. I'm not trying to come out like CD Projekt Red.
Try to go out like
but
that.
No,
huh?
I do want to. I want to talk to you about that a little bit. See if I can get a little bit of advice from you on how to get the thing over the finish line. Did Kay give you the link to it?
Yeah, I got it on my phone.
Okay. I did. Okay. We'll talk about it offline. I'd love to hear some feedback from you on it.
And Mr. Everborn Saga, please continue to tell the fine people where they can find you on these gaming streets.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can find me everywhere that matters at Everborn Saga. So that's PlayStation, Xbox, Steam, not Nintendo. You can find me at some weird code,
some weird number letter combination,
right? But YouTube, check out also everybody. If you are subscribed here. And you like the bullshit that I say every week, come also check out me and
Everborn Saga channel. That's right.
Yes, Everborn Saga on YouTube. Subscribe to that. We do a show every Thursday at 8 p.m. where we it's like this, but we're not talking about gaming. We're talking about TV, movies, comic books, pop culture, all that jazz. Lots of hot takes there.
A lot of slanderous talk.
Yes, and Twitter, also Everborn Saga, Instagram, Facebook. Follow me on Twitter. I follow everybody back that follows me. But most important place to find me is everbornsaga.com, where you can get into the universe we are putting together. We have released 5 chapters so far and 2 series. So that's Prince of Arcadia and Ariel's Adventure. Ariel's Adventure is the one from the Kickstarter. If you supported that, awesome. We have 2 new series that are in production as we speak that will be released this year. And so stay tuned for more info about that. And also Everborn will be at Comic-Con and NYCC this year. That's New York Comic Con. So, but everbornsaga.com right now, if you want to get up to date before we launch our new series. So thank you, everybody. Appreciate the lively chat. I appreciate all of the Death's Door love. And just Marchiano, like when I saw Death's Door, the Everborn game just got pushed back even further. I was like, I got to step my game up. Yeah. I was like, damn, it's in Unity too. I got no excuse. 2 guys, but yeah, man, Everborn Saga every place, and the Batman slander never stops. For anybody who didn't catch it the last time, Batman only wears the cowl so the police can see that he's white when he's beating up poor people instead of donating to charity. But anyway, we can talk about that another day.
We had some fun on that show, but yes. Catch us on The Real Thursdays, 8 p.m. Everborn Saga YouTube channel. And on that note, I really appreciate everyone. We have grown exponentially compared to last time we were on we were doing this show. We have so many more subscribers. I appreciate everyone that has taken a chance on the show and joined us and joined the community and jump into the chat. Fun speculation. I appreciate you, brother. It was his doing among a few others in the community that brought our channel to fruition and brought it to the attention of the broader community, and a lot of people have chosen to subscribe to us. So thank you so much. I appreciate that. Continue to like, to subscribe. We're going to do the best we can to make a voice for ourselves in these gaming streets. We like to say we're here for the real talk. We enjoy the real talk, and we're okay with a little bit of slander. So thank you so much for joining us and wanting to continue the conversation.
Look at Cyber's comment. This is what happens when you do the Batman slander. It is what it is. I'm just calling balls and strikes.
Again, the Everborn Saga's words do not represent the entire Gaming Circle podcast as a whole.
Listen, don't get me started.
Go subscribe to his channel, and then give him a dislike for his slander for Batman slanders on that show. But yes, you will hear more and more of that. But before we continue, before we go any further, I would like to once again, for the final time, thank you so much, Mr. Marchiano Loen, for joining us. It's been so much fun, and hopefully we'll have you back again soon. And for my brother, Mr. Everborn Saga, and for myself, we've had another barn burner. We're almost at 3 hours, but now it's time to go. So thank you guys so much. Thank you for TK. Thank you for all the folks who joined us in the chat. Y'all always continue to make us better. We always continue to join the conversation and make it awesome. Cyber, appreciate you. Thank you for joining us. Anyone who missed it can catch the VOD and catch it on repeat. But until then, have a good one.